since we have quorum.
Yes.
All right,
Yes,
thank you,
let's
trustee. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Lucia Mantel-Dow, and I'm the president of the San Rafael City Schools. Thank you so much for being here this evening. I am hoping that you all had a wonderful week of congratulating all the teachers, classified staff, administrators, and I hope you all have and received all the love that you all deserve. Before we start, we need to get to our Pledge of Allegiance, but no, let's first do, I'm sorry, I have to do the close reportable, no, Pledge of Allegiance, sorry about that, I have a lot to report today.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right, folks, sorry, I had a lot to report from our closed session, so I apologize also that we're running a few minutes late. And regarding the first item, conference with legal counsel, I don't have any reportable items with regards to the first item. No action was taken by the board. And with regards to the second item, which is conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, case number 202-402-0212. In that case, the governing board voted to accept a confidential settlement proposal by the parents of a special education child to resolve a claim against the district instead of proceeding with litigation. The parties reached a compromise on specified educational reimbursements to be provided to the child. The vote was as follows. It was moved by trustee Martin and second by trustee Daniela Marsh. And that motion passed unanimously with all board members that were currently present voting yes. Regarding the item number 3, which is conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, case number 447-6966-243. In closed session, the governing board approved a compromise agreement with parents of a student to resolve a special education claim against the district, including reimbursement of special education services in exchange for a waiver of special education claims today. And the vote was as follows. It was moved by trustee Martin, second by trustee Daniela Marsh, and also that motion also passed anonymously. And regarding item 4, that is public employee discipline, dismissal, and release, and the probationary certificated non-reelection. And in closed session, the governing board took action to issue a notice of non-reelection to one probationary teacher pursuant to Education Code, section 449-2921B, effective at the end of the 2023-2024 school year, and directed the superintendent or designee to send out appropriate legal notices. The roll call was as follows. It was moved by trustee Martin and second by Daniela Marsh, and all the trustees voted yes, and the motion also passed unanimously by those that were present. Thank you very much to the public for bearing with us. Yes. Anything else? I think that was it. All right, now I will need to, and one more thing before I continue is that if people need a Spanish translation, please make sure you let us know. Se necesita traducción en español, por favor avísenos, and all those on Zoom can also raise their hand. All right, I am going to request a motion to approve the agenda, but before we move forward, I wanted the board know in transparency to the public that we have been asked to move the consent agendas, the consent items to the beginning of the agenda for this evening, and potentially we're gonna start doing that later on during our meetings. We'll see how that goes. So if the board is okay with that, I would like to entertain a motion so that we move the consent item to after the so
item number 13.
So yeah, so item number 13, let's move it to, yes, after
Between 9 and 10?
Yeah, between 9 and 10. Let's do it between 9 and 10. So that will become now item 10. So between 9 and 10.
Yep,
So
I move that we move the consent agenda items to item number 10.
Thank you, trustee, moved by trustee Martin. Second by trustee Daniela Marsh. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? Abstentions, seeing none, that motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much, trustee Martin and trustee Lanumash. All right, now with the fun part, which is presentation from Glenwood Elementary School. We love to hear from our school, so I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I'm Jake Hodgson, the principal of Glenwood Elementary School. And just a little side note, I was in this room the other day conducting interviews. I didn't know which camera to look at. And I was sitting over on this side of the room interviewing, and I thought, who is that bald man sitting on this side of the room? And I realized I had to adjust myself so I could. It was quite interesting seeing myself from a different perspective. So thank you for having me tonight. I appreciate it. I'm gonna give you a synopsis of what's going on at school, and ultimately, I would like to have everybody who's in this room come see what's going on, because I'm gonna be showing a slide deck, but it doesn't begin to tell you what's going on and the action people are taking moving forward. Just a little history, this is my first year there after being in San Francisco for 21 years. It's been an amazing transition with the community that has welcomed me in with open arms, both teaching staff on the ground floor to the greater community, to the board and everybody else working at the district office. So I appreciate it. It's wonderful to be a part of this community.
Point that towards me or just let me know.
Excuse me.
All right. So just a little description, but once again, this doesn't, I used simplified numbers here, but the certificated staff, when you think about what we have 14 classroom teachers and 12 other classified staff, or 10 other classified staff that add just as much to the community. We have OT, PT, we have a counselor, we have psychologists, we have RSP programs for our special education students, we have a learning center. So the certificated staff is just a number up there, but once again, once you set foot on campus, you see everybody working in harmony towards a common goal. We have classified staff of 18, and I am the principal, Jake Hodgson. Here's the breakdown of the demographics from the 23-24 school year. 21% of our student community is socioeconomically disadvantaged. 15% of our students are English learners. 16% of our students are students with disabilities. 67% white students, 19% Latino, Latina students, 9% two or more races, 3% Asian, and 1% African American. So I want to kind of take a week at a glance as you come in. We do have academic programs very similar to what is aligned throughout the district. But as you walk in to the school on Mondays, we welcome everybody in with a community. We welcome everybody in with a morning meeting, a community meeting, which we also use to recognize student achievement, kind of use some common academic language to set some goals for the week, which is usually a culmination of a month-long focus. We make important announcements and once again kick off and end the week with our volunteer dance coaches. So we believe in getting everybody started with morning movement every Monday and Friday, and the kids get energized. Everyone gets up there moving. It's a good time. We start the week with music, and the week with music. We hold assemblies to inspire and motivate students to keep achieving, demonstrate and diversify our interests. We do hold cultural heritage celebrations and other things that just pop up that we need to discuss. We are going to continue that as we move forward. This year we tried something new. In the past, what they've been doing is on foul weather, everyone would just go inside their classrooms and watch virtually, and I want to keep the community going, so we moved it into the gym. So that was a nice change that everybody was open for. So we were still able to build the community, all be together, including our learning center students, our special day class from TK all the way to 5th grade. So it's a good chance for all these kids to interact, and then that's further accompanied with buddies. So we have peer age buddies, so these kids get to see each other in the yard. Because what we do is we have an upper yard and a lower yard at Glenwood, so they don't get to interact that often. So it's important to give as many opportunities to interact with each other so that they can have, so they can be inspired by each other and also kind of look out for each other. So it's nice when they get to run into each other. So we have that opportunity in the morning to see everybody, and then throughout the week, each upper level, so from 3rd through 5th, meets with a TK5 class, and they do shared activities one time a week. We have student enrichment classes, library once a week, and that lasts for the entire year. We have art once a week, which lasts throughout the entire year. Dance once a week for half the year, music once a week for half the year, and PE 2 times a week. And this year, starting in January, we started a mobile makerspace that comes in, and the kids do complementary activities that go along with the units of study that the teachers are teaching, and a culminating activity that they get to go home with a STEM style activity. There's also student leadership opportunities. We have a student council, green team, which helps us, and they also hold assemblies as well. And we have a green team that sits out there by garbage cans to make sure students are separating trash the way they should be. They also get teams together and go around and beautify the yard and plant things throughout the space to keep it green. We have Peaceful Eagles program, which once again goes along with our cross-age mentoring. So we have older kids going to the lower yard to help supervise games, to help kids with low-level interactions that need rectifying. So they always have to go up to a teacher or a yard duty, so students can interact and solve problems on their own. And then we also have 4th and 5th graders that do that on the upper yard with 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students. And once again, the cross-age buddy program, where all classrooms participate and support each other. We also have monthly character building and celebrations of contributions in recognition of cultural diversity. Eagle Eye Awards, where we're celebrating students and the good work that they are doing. A golden dustpan so that the students respect their spaces and keep their areas clean. That's rewarded to a different classroom every day every week of who is maintaining an orderly classroom. An Eagle Award is student recognition as well, in which a student is recognized for something they've done throughout the week based on one of the tenets that we are studying. And then we also, in general, on Fridays, do student achievements and accomplishments. And that's something that we are really going to focus on next year, as we're going to be celebrating student achievements based on goals that are aligned with our social emotional learning units. Here's an example of some of the things that were going on. We celebrated Lunar New Year, be the change you want to see in the world, and Dia de los Muertos during this October. Now into one of the goals for our SIPs on what we are doing. And once again, me being new, as I stated at the beginning, I came in to a SIPSA that was already developed and a lot of time was going in with the SSC, the School Site Council. And I didn't want to come in and just put my fist down and say, here's what we're changing, here's how we're doing it after all this time was invested. So this is what was developed and we tweaked in September before publishing the document. And what we said is by June 2024, 60% of our English learners will grow 1 level on the English Learner Progress Indicator, and 40% will meet or exceed proficiency on the CASP ELA assessment. And as I can point out here, I can't share progress, and this is one of the things that we are recognizing this year is the indicators that we chose are end of the year summative assessments. So this year, as we were developing our SIPSA, we made sure that we're incorporating the formative assessments as well. So we're going to be able to get into the nitty-gritty and track progress through quarterly assessments, quarterly formative assessments, so that we can track the data more readily. But in this case, the 22-23 CASP ELA data, overall, we had a 60% proficiency rate. And the disparity would be our English learner community was 11%. In addition, 35% of our students with disabilities will meet or exceed proficiency on the CASP in ELA. And once again, looking at this 35% of our students meeting or exceeding proficiency on the CASP, it was important for us to look at who every single student was. And instead of looking at a summative assessment like the CASP or the SBAC, which all the students are taking that's starting in our school this week, we're looking at indicators on IEPs so that the goals that we've set on IEPs are what we're attaining, so that we are seeing individualized progress just as the individualized education plan states. So that's how we're modifying that as well. And at 2022-23 CASP ELA data overall for, I'm sorry, that was for math. Actually, the data was duplicated, so I'm gonna move on. And here's our dashboard of academic indicators. For our English language arts overall, we are 29.3 points above standard. But if you break it down into the subgroups, you'll see that we have a lot of progress that we need to make, and that's where our goals are aligned with this year's SIPSA, and that's our single plan for student achievement. You'll see the areas in yellow, we are making positive growth, but we want to close the gap all the way across. And you'll see our English language learners are classified as very low, and that is one of our target subgroups so that we can target that change, and that's where we're going to be doing the majority of our work, because we really do believe rising tide raises all ships. So that's where a lot of our strategies are going to be going, so that we can individualize instruction for students who need differentiation. In mathematics, you'll see something very similar. We have overall 40.7 points above standard, which is an improvement of 15.5%, or 15.5 points, which you'll see that everyone is making progress. But once again, we want to eliminate the disparity and bring everybody else up from the yellow to the blue. And then along with our English learner scores, you'll see we are at 37% making progress, which is a 3% decline from the prior year. And that has once again become one of the focal points of what we are doing in the classroom as far as instruction. Here's our overall ELA and CASP scores, which is every student in the school averaged out, and those are our proficiency levels. This is the best place to look at the data and see disparity between subgroups. You'll see students who are classified as ever ELs or never ELs. Students who were never classified as English learners are performing 52 points above the proficiency level, while our ever ELs are 87%, or 80, I keep saying percent, I apologize, 87 points below proficiency. So this is really where we are targeting what we are working on as a staff, looking at our professional development as we're moving into the next year, as well as our professional learning communities. And this is what we are working on and bringing student work to the table so that we can figure out what's working in some classrooms and what's not in others. And then come together and start employing the things that are working across the board. General education students, 50 points above proficiency versus 69. Socioeconomically disadvantaged 51 versus non-socioeconomically disadvantaged 51 and 39 below, and Hispanic Latino 34 points below, 52 points above. And when we look at math, you see very similar analytics. Never ELs 66 points above proficiency, while ever ELs 84 points below proficiency. Students with disabilities 67 points below versus 65. Socioeconomically disadvantaged 68 versus negative 39 below. And then Hispanic Latino 39 points below versus our white students who have 67 points above proficiency. So what we are doing as we are sitting down with student work is examining where everybody is, and once again, what is working, bringing this together into a collective, structuring our, putting our structures towards what is working and putting that in instructional groupings. And that's what we are doing in tier 2 interventions within the classroom. So what are we currently doing this year? We are maintaining strong classroom communities. It's the most important thing. That's what I came in with. My mission is trying to connect with as many people as possible and influencing teachers to do the same. Making sure at the beginning of the school year, we are making phone calls and reaching out and doing face-to-face interactions so we get to know each and every student, each and every family. And it's extremely important for me to get to know that and develop those interpersonal relationships. And seeing that foster among our staff as well. And that's the first step to developing a culture. And there's a very strong culture of that where people are connecting. A lot of people live in the neighborhood and are walking to school, and teachers live in the area. Some teachers have not only grown up in San Rafael, but gone to Glenwood, gone to high school in the area, and returned and are teaching there. So there are deep roots in the community. It's important to take advantage of that. We also are using structured listening and speaking protocols. So specifically, we are modeling things in the TK and K so that will be the structure as we move forward. So when I say a structured protocol, I would be having kids not just pair up and say turn and talk. I would be demonstrating what it looks like to have a successful interaction. We'd be using sentence frames when necessary, so that the kids can interact, and we give the chance of partner A, go ahead and talk to partner B, and then have partner B share out what partner A said, so we know that those authentic conversations are happening. All teachers have been SEAL trained and are implementing SEAL strategies, these thematic units that you will see posted throughout the room that teachers can keep reflecting on when they're using the academic vocabulary that has been developed and implemented throughout the unit. We're now using formative assessment at the start of this year. When I came in, they were using F&P the prior year, an FLA, and actually one other mechanism which I was not familiar with. But this year, the whole district has aligned with iReady, and everyone is using that. They're giving it 3 to 4 times a year, depending on if they're taking the SBAC or not. And even the 3rd through 5th who want to give it can use that as a gauge as well. The test is aligned with what the students will be doing on the SBAC, so it's not a surprise. And that's important because I've been a part of some school communities when all of a sudden a test is given and it doesn't look anything like. And my whole philosophy is a continuum. I want students to be learning something, experiencing the same type of environments, so that you're practicing the same way you're going to be playing in the game. Instruction that's differentiated and based on the needs of students. We have really gotten to this. Mid-year, we really got the structure of professional learning communities down. Every classroom was doing small group instruction. So the tier 1 instruction where the teacher would deliver a lesson, and then students who are not receiving the information all in the same way would then be able to work in a small group with the teacher, while other students were able to move forward because they were able to grasp the concepts more rapidly. Those would take 6 to 8 week cycles. We'd come back together, look at the data, see the progress on the individual students, so the groups would be flexible, so that we are allowed to, as students become proficient with something, they can also begin to expand their learning. Ongoing consultation and collaboration with grade level colleagues. We have an instructional coach, we have an intervention teacher, and a special education team through our coordination of services team. And those are important meetings that facilitate a lot of learning because we do have a lot of experts in the room, and that is key, is the collaboration between everybody. We want to make sure if something's working somewhere that experience or that knowledge is shared somewhere else, because tier 1 strategies may not be effective for every single student. So if someone comes in and says, this is what I'm working on on a student with an IEP, this may benefit the small group you're working with. That's what we are trying to get to. That is our goal. Once again, here are our outcome, our summative assessments from the SBAC. This is a repeat of the data, but you can see our focal groups heading into the next year as well. Our English learners, the 11%, we really are targeting that and want to close the gap there. Math is a little higher, but still not near where it needs to be. Students with disabilities in ELA, there was considerable growth in both ELA and math last year, but once again, we want to keep closing the gap between where our student averages and where these focal groups are. And socioeconomically disadvantaged, you'll see ELA is 31 and math 42%. But if you go back to our scores, you can see the disparity, and that's what we are trying to close the gap on. And it's quite significant, so that's where our work lies. So our next steps for progress for English learners and students with disabilities. And in the middle of the page, you'll see in bold letters, all students will benefit. And that's the important thing to think, that all of these practices will benefit everybody. Continue to increase student-to-student interaction. We want universally less teacher talk, more facilitation, and then students leading with interactions with each other, because those are some of the most important things we can do is have the kids interact. They learn a lot from each other. Continue to deepen understanding and implementation of tier 2 practices, because not everyone's going to get it on the first run through. What are we doing in small groups or small instructional groups to make sure students are getting it? And then of course we have tier 3, which would be an intervention program. And then we see if none of these interventions have been working, is there something deeper that we need to look into with an assessment? We have ongoing coaching and professional development to increase fidelity to these practices. Because once again, it takes consistency to be successful. Continue utilizing small group instruction for our most impacted students, because all students benefit from this opportunity. And most importantly, and I've shared with anybody who's walked around campus with me, I want it to be a Glenwood experience. When you walk in and say, what does it look like to be in a Glenwood classroom? You're able to look, starting at a TK, finishing with the 5th grade, where you're walking in and you're saying, oh, here's a common learning area. There is a agenda posted on the board that the teachers are following. There's individual workspaces. There's a culturally rich and relevant library in the classroom. So you walk around and then you go into the 1st grade room and you see the same things, so that the kids can develop this consistent pattern as they're going through. And then it just becomes natural and you're plugging in basically the same expectations that were expected of them in the lower grade. And then continued use of our formative assessments, target instruction. And that's something that we really worked on. We had a wonderful coach this year, a lot of work from the staff who put in endless hours at these PLCs, breaking these groups up, analyzing data from iReady so that they could look at what students were getting it, what students weren't, and then bringing these conversations to the table and figuring out what they can do. And now I will turn it to you if you have any questions.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here and tell us about Glenwood. And now I will open it to my colleagues in case there are any questions or comments, and reminder that we need to move to.
I just have an initial comment in the sense of thank you for the invitation to visit Glenwood and be to experience the Glenwood Glenwood experience. Sorry, we're not enough coffee in the world. Let's reframe. I'm excited to come and visit your school, and even though we are closing this school year, I appreciate this open invitation, not only to your site, but all the other previous schools who presented. And I look forward to digging deep. And I really appreciate the lens of like in the strength space, especially with the pieces that are in lower in scale. Sorry, I don't have the data slides in front of me that you had witnessed, but I appreciate that transparency, that this is not a gap. This is an opportunity for us to strengthen our entire campus community. You had cited about lifting all tides. I definitely agree. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Trustee Deneva Marsh. Any other comments?
Yeah,
Mama?
thank you for the presentation. I have a few questions. I mean, first of all, I would like to really congratulate you for the different activities that you have for these children. I mean, they really have a lot going on for themselves. It really hurts me to keep on seeing that the English learners and students with disabilities don't seem to move up. And my question is also, when it comes to Spanish-speaking parents, how do they engage?
That is a great question, and it's important because actually part of our plan moving forward is we have a community liaison who is Spanish speaking, and he is one of the only Spanish speaking members of our staff. So one of the priorities that we are moving forward to is also trying to engage staff moving forward that are bilingual. But right now that is one of the only ways for Spanish speaking families to engage. So it's so important for us to maintain that and grow it. But that's an excellent question and always paramount in everything we are doing, so I appreciate that.
Perfect. Trustee, I know that this is, Trustee Palmer, are you finished with your questions?
I am.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Martin?
I'll be really quick. Great
That's
to
okay.
see you.
You too, thank you.
And I just want to say that it's been how many months now that you've been on board? Maybe?
I was thinking on the way over here, it's been just about a year since I was on the camera.
I thought you were on the camera around
Yeah.
this time. That's what I was trying to remember. You
Yeah.
on the camera. We were
That's
all
right.
here.
Much more flattering angle.
Yeah, no,
No, it's not. Your head looks like a floating head out there. No, it's not.
I just wanted to say that the Glenwood community is so excited. We had someone as an interim and then we had someone that was there for a year and a half or so. And so I know that we as a school community are super excited to have,
Yeah.
like you said, consistency and knowing from, kinder, TK, all the way to fifth grade and having that consistency. So thank you so much for your leadership. I'm just really thrilled that you're there and I know you are very committed to our growth. So thank you.
Definitely, I agree, and I had the opportunity to visit your school. Thank you so much for the tour, and thank you so much for inviting all the trustees, which I encourage you all to visit. And it was great to see also the program that you had, professional development day or
It was
professional,
career-
sorry,
career
career day, I'm sorry, career day. And I was so engaging to see the parents and the students and everyone, and those kids were really behaved. So very, very good job
Yeah.
trying to get those kids to pay attention. So thank you so much for being here.
Of course,
Appreciate
yeah,
it.
and I just wanna say the staff, they've been so welcoming and I've said this to everyone, Caroline, I think I said the same thing to you is this is my fourth principalship and I haven't felt so welcome and had such a smooth transition in my first year of anywhere. So the staff has been welcoming and open. I got to meet everybody in one-on-ones at the beginning of summer and they got to clearly articulate where they were coming from.
Mhm.
I got to clearly articulate and I think that's created a nice bond that's lasted through this point of the year.
That's great.
So I'm very happy to be in Centerville City Schools and happy to be at Glenwood.
So great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. All right, so now we can move on to announcements from trustees. We're running a little behind, but I think we can get caught up. So I will open it to my colleagues if there are any updates or announcements. We have a meeting last week, but if trustee Doneva Marsh wants to get us started.
Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm gonna start off with the general meetings I had, even though we had a meeting just last week, it's been a busy week in between. So I participate on our Golden Bell Committee. So that event is coming on May 23rd to celebrate our educators as well as different school board members. That's later at the end of this month. So very excited to end the school year on that. I had my standard superintendent check-in meeting with Superintendent Diaz-Gaizels, which is great, always constant communication. And then later on this month, the Marin County School Board Association has our end of year meeting, so I will be there. I don't know who else from our school board will be attending, but when I always say every time, like one of us shows up, all of us show up because it's a teamwork effort to try to come across and be visible for the school district. So those were the standard meetings that I had or are about to have. I'm a representative for the Joint Legislative Advocacy Committee, or JLAC, and we met last week. I'm now the newly appointed District Assembly representative, which means I am representing our county school districts to our statewide body. And so the update is that we had our Assembly member Damon Connolly give an update because last week, Governor Newsom release the May revision. Now, the full details of the May budget revision are actually going to be released this week. There's not enough time in the world for me to summarize, but in the transparency that I've committed by being delegate assembly member is really to try to unpack and remove any type of I want more of this information to be accessible to the general public, especially our student trustees, because we're all a conduit for communication. And so all that to say is that you'll see more communications about that, hopefully in community language, but that's my commitment with the other representatives for JLAC and the school districts. And that's what I wanted to share. And finally, on an uplifting note, I know that the student trustees weren't here last week, but we had a unanimous approval of 2 resolutions, May recognizing it as Mental Health Awareness Month, as well as Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Month. And so in the last couple of weeks, especially in May, it's really been an honor to be able to feed 2 birds with 1 seed and actually represent San Rafael City Schools in a couple of spaces, uplifting both of those really important topics on behalf of our school district as a school, as an elected that is Asian American, Native I'm Filipino. So all that to say is I really want to thank the city of San Rafael for inviting me to speak to kick off the celebration of Asian awareness this month. But then also I want to thank the Marin Asian Scholarship Fund, because some of those students are actually San Rafael City School student scholarship recipients, to be able to talk about both and. I addressed it last week, but especially since you're here, it's so important in any of these resolution spaces that it's not just a resolution that are words on paper, it's an opportunity to uplift and highlight the local resources that are here. So I really also want to thank Marin County Youth Commission for hosting a very successful wellness festival that was hosted at Terra Linda High School. That really shows a commitment for San Rafael City Schools, that we're really a hub for not only our students and our community, but also the general Marin community. And it's something that we need to talk about every day, even beyond May.
Thank you so much for the update. Appreciate it. Thank you, trustee.
I don't have anything to report
Thank
today.
you, trustee.
I'll be brief. I just attended our E2 efficiency and effectiveness, which brings all of school board members together on Wednesdays at 7:30 a.m. It's lovely. We talked about food alignment within Marin schools and also the use of Slack within all of our board members, but we can't do that because of the Brown Act. So that was
Yeah.
one thing. And then also,
You had that idea.
I can't go there.
Okay.
And so then I also had my weekly meeting with President Dow and then also my superintendent. That's all I have.
I don't have that much, except for I do concur with trustee Daniela Marsh that we did hear about the budget, and it was very worrisome news about the deficit that potentially could have some impact, although I'm sure our head of business office is monitoring that very closely. But those were not great news for anyone in California, quite frankly. And I don't have anything else to report on my end, except to say that trustee Kerner is not here with us. He had a conflict. So it's just the four of us. Now we'll pass it to the student trustees. If you rather come first, let's go with trustee Kim Morales. Would you like to give us an update?
Good evening, everyone. In today's Venetia Valley report, we start off with the middle schoolers. All middle school students are going to join a field day, and the 8th graders are going to have a last year celebration with a field trip to Six Flags and a dance. Although
No, sorry.
Although there are some contracts with these privileges, our Dean of Students has organized a contract that agrees to having no more than 5 tardies in each class for the whole school year. Yet if you were to have more than 5 tardies, they could be made up by doing community service. An example would be by helping the garden during your lunch, or like attending as a volunteer to our garden day on May 18th, where families of Venetia Valley are free to also attend. And this is, of course, the biggest announcement of all, because not only am I a part of this momentous occasion and event, but the Venetia Valley Band is performing here at Terra Linda's Theater.
Nice.
When is that?
I think it's next Wednesday. We're not 100% sure the date, but I want to say it's around there next week.
Thank you.
And yeah, thanks. That's the whole report. Thank you.
Thank you. Our student trustee, Eugene, would you like to?
Yeah, okay, so 2 weeks ago, 8th graders did the CAST assessment, which is the science state testing. And last week, we started our block schedule because we're doing our English SBAC testing, and we're still in the block schedule, but this week we're doing math, all grades. 8th graders are getting ready for promotion in all of our 8th grade activities. To participate in the end of the year activities, students have to have passing grades and minimal tardies and no behavior issues. Open house is Thursday, May 23rd, and the students will be presenting some of the work that they've done in class. Everyone's like welcome.
Okay.
May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and the Wellness Center is advocating for mental health through video in the morning announcements.
That's great. Thank you so much. And my understanding is, I appreciate the updates. And my understanding is that we have student trustee Walden Kaufman online, so you can bring her in.
Hey
Hi.
everyone, sorry I couldn't be in person today. Hope you all can hear me. Can you hear me okay?
perfectly.
Okay, great. So AP testing has been happening at SR through May 6th until the 16th, which is the end of this week. And a lot of us are very excited for that to be completed. We have senior cap and gown pickup that is happening this Friday. And this Wednesday during brunch, we kind of call Represent Your College Day because it's officially decision day for the seniors. So it'll be really exciting. We have prom happening this Saturday at Club X and SF. Which is seniors only. And we also have the Dog Bowl coming up at the end of May, which is essentially like a flag football game that's oriented around girls. We also have ASB elections which just wrapped up. So that's all set for the next year. So we have the positions confirmed. We also have a senior recognition ceremony that's happening this Friday at 4 to celebrate the ASB seniors for all the hard work they've done this year. And lastly, on May 30th, SR is having the Bulldog recognition ceremony during brunch, which is where a student from each class at SR is offered a certificate and just kind of elected and celebrated for all that they've done. So yeah, that's everything.
Thank you so much, trustee. Thank you all. Any other trustee on the line? That's it. Okay, great. Superintendent, what updates you have for us?
1 month from today will be the last day of school for our district.
Yes.
We have graduations and promotion ceremonies coming up in a little less than a month. And as Mr. Hudson said, I've never felt so welcomed also. This is my first year as well. So thank you for all of that. And it's just been fun to watch and grow and make connections with everyone. So
No, this is good. That's it. All right. All right, so now we can move on to some of our labor partners. Do we have any representative from CSCA online?
We do have online, and we also have SRFT online, so I'm moving them over. We have both Morgan and Tanya.
Hi, Tanya.
Hi.
Tanya turned her camera on first.
That's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I should have known. I would have waited then to turn on my camera, Christina.
That's
Next time. It's okay. I don't mind going first. Good evening, everyone. Since there is not a board meeting next week, I'm going to use my report time to recognize all of our classified employees.
Mm-hmm.
As you all know, as the resolution was passed, next week is Classified Employees Week. And, you know, sometimes there's a confusion between classified, between certificated. And I just want to take this moment to remind everyone who your classified employees are. We're your front lines, basically. We're your secretarial staff who the little kids come to when they need a Band-Aid. We're your custodial staff who keeps all of the classrooms clean so our students can learn. We are our campus securities who keep our schools safe so that children can continue their learning experience. We're the instructional assistants in the classroom helping them learn. We're also our maintenance and grounds workers who maintain the facilities and make sure that all of our students are going into adequate buildings, clean buildings. So I just wanted to take this moment and recognize all of our classified staff and give them an applause for being the front lines and for working hard and showing up every day to do the work that we do. We're the heart and soul, we're the front lines. And me personally, I'm proud to represent our classified employees. Have a great week, everyone.
Oh,
Thank you so much. Perfect. You said we have someone from SRFT?
Yep, we have Morgan. Here
Hi, Morgan, how are you?
Good evening. I'm Morgan Agnew, Floating Head.
Thank you, Morgan.
Keep my report brief tonight. Thank you for an excellent Teacher Appreciation Week, and thank you especially to the parent community that donated a lot of food and treats for us to have. We very, very much appreciate it. And I also wanted to say thank you to the board members and superintendent who made some visits to our classrooms recently. We always appreciate seeing you guys in the hallway, so thank you for coming by. Thank you to trustees Daniev, Marsh, and Corner who are coming by to Terralinda this week. The one suggestion I would make is that given a set amount of time, fewer classrooms, longer visits. The more time you can spend in any one classroom, the more of a sense you can get of what our students experience in the day-to-day. I think that would be more valuable than many 2 or 3 minute visits to many different classrooms. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your suggestions. Unfortunately, I already did my visit, but I appreciate it. All right, so, do we have anyone from? Yes, I was gonna say, I was just gonna say, we have SRCS, okay.
Snuck in there, Freddie with SRTA. So Freddie, in a moment, you can start your video and unmute yourself and begin.
All right. Oh, there we go. Hi there. Good evening, Board of Trustees and Superintendent Guy Sells. I'm Freddie Dominguez, treasurer of SRTA. I teach middle school Venetia Valley, and I'm reporting on behalf of SRTA's, on behalf of all of our members. Our 3rd through 8th grade students just started CAS testing. Teachers have transformed their learning spaces into testing environments. Students will be engaged in computer-based reading, writing, math, and science assessment tests. This is one of the many ways our educators assess students' academic progress toward grade level standards. Our bargaining team is preparing for our next negotiation sessions on May 30th. We will be attending the Elementary District Budget Advisory Committee, quite a mouthful, on Thursday, May 23rd, in order to hear how the governor's May revised cost of living adjustment, COLA of 1.07%, will impact San Rafael City Schools elementary school budget for 2024-2025. We continue to track on hiring and staffing at Davidson Middle School. Educators at Davidson are eager to hear more about the master schedule, the elective offerings, and classroom configurations and locations. As we near the end of the year, we are hopeful that all open positions are filled so that there is a well-organized, efficient, and effective transition to the 7-period day schedule. And here we are in the middle of May. We look forward to a multitude of celebrations, and we invite you to join us at some or all of them. Next Monday evening, we will be honoring our Student Consistent Achievers. It is a joyful event to honor SRCS students who've maintained their focus, dedication, and engagement in learning new skills and aptitudes during their time at our schools. There will invariably be a lot of very proud students, teachers, and families. Glenwood, Bahia Vista, and Sun Valley schools will invite students, families, and community to their classrooms at their open houses on the 21st. Davidson Middle School will have their open house on the 23rd. And we will be celebrating certificated and classified staff at the Golden Bell Awards on Thursday, May 23rd as well. We have a lot to celebrate, a lot of planning for next year, and still a lot of learning to be done in the next 22 school days. Thank you. That is the SRTA report for this evening.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here, Freddie. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all those dates too. It's important. All right. Okay, so any more updates? Then not, we can now pass to, I think we have the first step report. No, I'm sorry. We have to go to non-public, non-agendized items. My apologies. So this is a time for the public to comment on items that are not on the agenda. And please limit your comment to 3 minutes, please. Okay. Let's try.
I hope that's not off my time.
No, of course it's not. Of course it's
So
not.
my name is Bob Middlestead
Yeah,
with E-Bike
Thank you.
Access.
Yes.
Jonathan and I were here in February, brought to your attention two things. One is the extraordinarily high accident rate
Yeah.
for kids 10 to 15. And the second thing is that most of the throttle bikes that kids are riding are not legal. Want to update you on the what's happened since then and make a suggestion. If you're already considering or implementing an e-bike registration program, I can sit down or you can look at your phones for the next 2 minutes. But in the case that you're not, what's happened is 4 chiefs of police, led by Chief Norton, Central Marin, have agreed with us that Super 73s, to name a brand, are not legal Class 2 e-bikes. They go too fast. Anything that goes faster than 20 miles an hour, illegal, can't be ridden, certainly by kids. They need to be registered, driver's license and so forth. But 16-year-old and under 16 can't ride them. Second thing that's happened is I volunteered with Safe Routes to School to do a bike census. And I'm not gonna unofficially give you the results, but suffice it to say that unfortunately, your schools are no better than the rest of the schools in Marin, and you got a lot of these illegal bikes. Most of the throttle bikes kids are riding are not legal. And so what to do about it? I understand you much prefer to focus on educating kids, and you don't want to be the cops, and you don't want to be the e-bike cops. But safety of kids is obviously a part of educating them. This is a classic case for law enforcement school partnership. And what we're talking with other schools about is a registration program. I've got our protocol that we've suggested to other schools and an application form. And I'll leave it with you and ask you to consider it. We've also talked with Mike Grant and John Carroll at the county level. I'm not sure whether they're going to coordinate this or not. We found other schools are going forward with this. I ask you not to put this off until the fall, because the last thing we want to do is have parents buy these Super 73s, you know, for their kids over the summer and have them ride it to school. Try and come to school in the fall with them, only to find out then that you're not going to allow them. So I think the sooner the schools can decide on this, the better off everybody is. Last point, we found at other schools, parents are pushing back. We spent $3,000–4,000 on these and we can't ride them anymore. So what to do? The answer in my view is not to say, oh, well, that's okay. You know, you can ride them to school anyway. The answer is to take it up with Super 73 and the other manufacturers, or with the district attorney's consumer fraud division. Anyhow, that's our pitch, and I'll just leave these copies with you if I can.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
And we're ready to help any way you'd like us to. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you very much. Do I have any other public comments? Yes. Yes, I just wanted to know if there's somebody else from the public.
Yeah, we're talking about safety. I wasn't trying to demonstrate how difficult it was from chair to chair. But I just want to echo what Bob's been saying and what he's been doing. I'm more like an assistant and just letting you know that there is some personnel behind us. We've gotten a lot done. He only mentioned a few things. One is that we've been able to get, actually he has, been able to get sports basement to stop selling Super 73s. There was a state senator who wanted to put a piece of legislation forth which would have muddied the waters, and Bob was very instrumental in removing that. So we don't have a budget. Well, we have about $2,000 in a nonprofit C3 account, and that's much less than the Bicycle Coalition has. We've been very effective, and we're still going to keep doing what we need to do, which is going to the different school boards. This is one of the leverage points that we have to help kids keep them safe when they're riding these bikes, that they can throttle up to more than 20 miles an hour. So the other thing though is that I'm noticing that I have a bad hearing loss, and I don't know what you guys do for disability access for hearing loss and so on, and captions on a screen would really be helpful, sizable for one, things like that. And when the fellow from Glenwood was talking about students with disabilities, I'm thinking, geez, what kinds of disabilities? And I assume those are mostly learning disabilities, but I think spelling those out, because I grew up with the hearing loss from age 6 years old on, and it can really help a kid when they're included. And so when I was taught to lip read at that age, and now with the my hearing loss is much worse, so I'm more aware of trying to keep myself included. And I think all kids feel supported when they are. So I just wanted to remind you of that. Thank you.
I don't seem to be able to get your current location.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the public for non-agendized items?
Seeing one on Zoom.
I would like to see that on Zoom, please. Get that up.
All right, let's see, you can unmute yourself and begin.
Great, thank you. I'm Arlette Cohen, and my child attended Glenwood and also Davidson and SRCS. I'm a member of the Wetlands Committee of the Point San Pedro Road Coalition. And I want to start by thanking you all most sincerely for everything that you do on behalf of our students. I am concerned about the school district's process for designating the Glenwood parcels as surplus and selling off the property. I attended the Q&A session a couple of weeks ago, and I was disappointed with the level of transparency and clarity of information in this process, which the board has seemed to ram through with undue haste. The property in question contains wetlands, which are important to the community, to education, and to help mitigate, even in a small way with tiny parcels of land, the impact of sea level rise. The Wetlands Committee has been working with some Glenwood teachers, some local environmental groups in discussions about beginning wetlands restoration and developing what could become a fabulous learning laboratory for Glenwood students and for other San Rafael City School students. The educational potential is tremendous, and such a project would be a huge benefit to education, to the environment, and to the community. Some teachers have already developed curricula and held programs tapping into this resource. The district is well aware of this, as the teachers have made a presentation on the subject. This would absolutely fall under the category of highest and best use in multiple ways. But it seems to me that the district has chosen to bypass this great opportunity, deciding to sell off the land before consulting with the community. So I urge the board first to rescind the sale, offering the Glenwood property. Second, I ask that you meet with educators, the neighborhood, and environmental groups who are involved and interested, as well as community members, parents and families, to explore the possibilities for developing this wetlands resource for the highest and best use to benefit students, the community, and the environment. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comment. One quick thing is that we already spent some time providing information to the community that spoke before around the surplus property, so I'm not going to repeat that, but definitely follow up with our Assistant Superintendent, Bob Marcucci, if you have any other questions. And with regards to the other topic, I'm going to ask the superintendent to provide an update, please, about the e-bikes.
Yes, actually, we're working on two levels. The first one is with Mary Sackett's office. They would like to write a resolution of support and partnering with the board, but we're waiting on the language because there's so many moving parts right now at the state level with this. Also, I have reached out to Captain Roy Leone of the SR Police Department to talk about the possibility of getting his thoughts on registering our e-bikes at the high school level. And at the superintendent's meeting, I do know that the Novato superintendent is piloting a program at one of her middle schools. So all of the superintendents have decided to kind of take her lead and see where we're going. So it's not exactly that we're not doing anything, we're just trying to figure out what would be the best course of action for us in that sense. So yes, we definitely are on board about student safety and how we can help with that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the update, Superintendent. And please reach out again if you have any other comments about this.
Can I make a 15-second?
I'm sorry. Maybe at the end of the meeting, if you want to wait until break. Or email the superintendent directly.
That would be great.
That would be
Thank
great.
you.
We appreciate the flexibility, sorry. All right. Now, we made a change to the agenda. So just to those of you who are following us on Zoom or in person, we made a change to the agenda and we are moving consent agenda, all the consent items to, which is item 13 in the agenda up. And we are going to discuss that, or otherwise, if there's no item that any board member would like to discuss, we can vote on this. But first of all, I'm gonna open it to public comment in case there's anyone in the community on Zoom or in person who would like to make any comments about any of the consent items, because we're going to vote on them now.
We did have a hand raised. It just came up. I don't know if it was for the public comment earlier, their intention, but we do have a hand raised at this time.
All right, so let's see if it's about the consent agenda.
Okay, L Gillian, you can unmute yourself and begin.
If not, I'm gonna ask you to move.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, yes, it is about the consent.
Thank you
uh,
very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, hi, my name is Lena Guillen, and I have been involved for a while with this. Thank you for letting me speak. Just for context, I live directly across from the high school, the back gate, and I'm sure some of you know who I am. For context, I have been living here for 8 years, so I have a lot of history with the back gate and the back lot. And I did submit comments. I live here with my 2 children who have gone to Glenwood and are part of the San Rafael City School District. And I had submitted some comments, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the comments I received back. The district replied to my comments saying that the gate usage baseline is that it is open at 10 p.m. every night, and therefore there's going to be nothing is changing. In other words, in the new SEIR. And what I wanted to do is correct some of that language for the district and say that on the record. This is being recorded, correct? I've been here for 8 years. My neighbors have been here for 20. And baseline means beginning, commencement, launch, start. The gate and the back lot has been used not until 10 p.m. It has been used for the last 8 years for only staff, and it has been closed at 6 p.m. every night. And that is the baseline that we have been talking about as a neighborhood. Can everybody hear me?
We can. Would you mind, and I'll take 5 more seconds. Can you tell me what item of the consent agenda you are speaking about, please?
The use of the back lot.
Do you know the number of the item? And I will let another few seconds pass. Okay, time has passed. Can you tell us what item in the consent agenda you're referring to?
Let me see. It was a response to my letter, and I can.
Yeah.
It's page 10. It starts in page. Would the page number help?
No.
It's in the EIR for Center Fell.
So it's not a consent. Okay, so this is a item. Yeah, so is that, but it is included in the discussion action? All right. So what is happening is that we have to accept, we will allow you to provide your comment when the item is happening, which is not yet. We haven't discussed the item just yet, all right?
Sorry, I'm so sorry. What is it that you guys are doing right now?
So we are on, so we made a change to the agenda.
Oh, I see.
So the consent items are actually being discussed right now. So that's why we were wondering.
What consent item exactly are you discussing at this moment?
I know, well, all of them. So I don't think you're addressing what's on.
I'm addressing the item that you guys are going to continue to use the back lot. It was originally in the temporary SEIR. It was going to be a temporary lot.
It is definitely, item 11, if you look at our agenda online, there's item 11 and there's like action and discussion items. So we'll bring you back in when we are at number 11 and one of those items that are there, which has to do with capital facilities.
Yes, it's the improvements of the back, the whole athletic facility.
All
It's
right.
part of that.
We'll bring you back later on. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
All right. All right, so let's move on. Do I have anybody else on comment for the consent agenda?
Seeing none.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as a whole?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as a whole.
Okay, thank you very much. Moved by trustee Nineveh Marsh. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Palma. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Against or abstention, seeing none, that motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much for allowing this change, trustees. All right, now we can move on to the discussion and action session items. And the first one is, interesting. Yes, I'm glad this is here, which is the discussion. Oh, no, sorry, sorry, the staff report, my apologies. Thank you, trustee Martin, thank you so much. The staff reports first, I'm just trying to get through action, but not there yet. This is exciting. We're gonna get an update about our LCAP Together 2024 goal 4, which is system and structure. So we are running a little bit behind but I'm sure we can get caught up very soon. We'll do our best.
Yes.
I know it's a lot.
Yeah, and I can take us away. So we are all on goal 4. So we've done goal 1 through 3. So I'm not gonna talk too much about these beginning slides other than this is our opportunity to walk the community and the board through the progress we are making on our Together 2024, which is aligned with our LCAP. And we are in high season for writing our new LCAP. So feedback taking from these presentations are informing our new LCAP development. Here we are with our 4 goals. We're on systems and structures towards the end. We're gonna cover these 5 areas that you can see in the bottom right-hand corner for systems and structures. And you'll notice this goal area, it often overlaps with a lot of the other areas, but it's a more the big picture thinking behind what happens in our schools. So here we go. This is a large goal area, so we are going to move through it quickly. There's a lot in the document itself. There's a little bit less in the slides, and we're gonna talk even a little bit less about what's on the slides, just because there is so much to cover with the team. So we'll kick it off with MTSS.
Okay, so I'm going to start by talking about multi-tiered systems of support around behavioral or social emotional supports. There were 2 goals that we had in elementary district as well as high school district. One of them, the first was around decreasing the number of disciplinary referrals or suspensions. And the second one was to increase coordination of service team referrals or interventions for students. So if you see here on the bottom, in both districts, we did not meet that first goal of decreasing the assertive discipline referrals. We held steady at about the same number in both districts. So, and I can talk more about why I think that is. We also met the goal or exceeded the goal really for cost referrals. Even just partway through the year, we were already at 200 referrals for coordination of services in TK 8. Whereas last year for the whole year, we were at about 150. And that's similar to high school district as well. And some of our key outcomes around this area was around coordination of services team, which you've heard me talk about a lot. This team is really taking in referrals from site administrators, teachers, instructors, intervention teachers, counselors, just to be able to provide intervention strategies for students, depending on what it is they need. They might just need social emotional support or academic, or maybe a blend of both. So really that team of experts at the table really talking about what individual students might need, and then taking that information and kind of tracking how those interventions are doing in blocks of about 4 to 6 weeks. Our wellness coordinators, our wellness center coordinators are really the ones kind of taking the lead on that in the high school. And then really our site administrators or school counselors are taking the lead in elementary. We're also still having to make referrals to outside organizations, not just our community-based organizations, but also like Kaiser sometimes. We have our system called Care Solace, where we're able to make referrals to any outside providers and help the handoff for parents to have that resource. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in key challenges. Another area of an accomplishment was our process and procedure for getting the word out there about uniform complaints, about Title IX and what that means, how students can make a report and file a report. We developed the scan codes that we then posted up in the middle and high schools, and then we also put them on our websites for the district as well as all the schools, and really trained all of our administrators in what those processes look like and how to bring them to us when there is a concern. And that seems to be going well. It's really just the beginning of that process. And then last year, right around this time, you approved our first discipline matrix as a district. And what that has done is helped us align our practices around discipline, providing students with support when they're having disciplinary incidents or they may need social emotional support. And then also just helping us collect the data. We had to do a whole cleanup from our ARIES system to make sure it matched our elementary to high school, which really helped to align that system. And like when we're looking at data, it really helps. Youth Transforming Justice has continued to provide support to us, to the district, for restorative practices, as well as individual and group interventions. And then we also did a pilot this year in hiring an BCBA, or a board certified behavior analyst, to help provide staff with the ability to develop behavior support plans for students at the school site, and really looking at the data and really at the student and what that particular student needs. 3 key challenges have been ION. ION data management system, which we brought on this year, has worked very well for elementary. And however, at the start of the year, it wasn't really set up for middle or high school. So with Cassie's help and working directly with ION, they've gotten to a point now where they're able to do that work. And so we're starting to socialize ION more and more with our middle and high schools. And we hope to have more data around coordination of services teams and interventions that we're providing social, emotionally, and academically through that next year. And then Care Solace, although it's a very helpful program, it depends on there being providers in our network or in our area. So that continues to be a challenge. If you talk to any of our wellness coaches or our school counselors, it's challenging to find help outside of the school district when a family is really looking for more intensive therapeutic support. And then the last is that second step. We adopted that through an implementation plan last year through the pilot. And this year, all of our elementary school teachers are using it and using it within the classroom. It's really a part of the kindergarten through 5 curriculum. And we hope to bring that into middle school next year. So right now, our middle school counselors are delivering that curriculum.
I'm gonna pass it to Stephanie.
Okay, Stephanie.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about the multi-tiered systems of support for academics in elementary. Our focus has really been how are we aligned and how are we really targeted so we can use our resources to support students where they are and accelerate them, right, and start to close the gap. So I'm going to do a very high level overview, but if you'd like to talk further, I am more than happy to spend time talking about this work. Our goal was that 80% of our students will make a year's worth of progress in math and language arts. It's a year from where they are. Right? And so that means different things for different students. As of March in iReady, 77% of students have made almost a year's worth of progress. And that was in March. So we're looking forward to seeing what that data looks like in June. And in math, we're at 69%. So again, I think we're on target for that, but we'll really be looking forward to what that looks like. Big things, cost systems and PLC intervention cycles. So it's really been thinking about what do the students need? How are we giving instruction that's targeted to that need? Seeing if it worked and then determining what the next step is. And so getting very tight and very aligned in both our grade level teams, our professional learning communities, so in-class interventions and with our intervention teachers, and making sure the systems are in place to support that work. In terms of next steps, we've really been primarily focusing on foundational literacy skills. I think that data shows that. This year, many of our sites have some math intervention happening. Next year, the expectation is that all sites will have at least 1 to 2 math groups and trying to get increasingly targeted in that. And that we get to the point, this is a longer term goal, but that acceleration through intervention is happening. So if we want to eventually close the gaps for students who are not yet at grade level, they need to be making more than a year's worth of progress. And so our new assessment system with iReady, I think, is really going to allow us to become more intentional and targeted there.
Alrighty, for secondary, we have a similar focus in terms of the MTSS. We're really looking at the bottom, the first tier, tier 1, making sure there's really high quality first instruction. Our big goal is kind of a little bit more of a North Star with UC A to G rates, trying to increase our UC A to G rates. Part of that is linked to our counseling training that we have going on. Right now, we've got about 36% of our students on track to meet UC A to G. And remember, that is higher than our district's graduation requirement. So what you have to do to graduate is above what the state asks, but below what UC A to G asks. So you kind of have to go above and beyond to meet those. Some districts have that as graduation requirement, but it requires a lot of discussion to make that move.
Yeah.
So I'll talk about a few of these things. I won't go into detail on all of them. You've heard me talk about a lot of this already this year. Our AVID program is one of those things. Tier 1 instruction, making sure we're setting high expectations for our first gen students. Our work with equal opportunity schools to increase AP enrollment for our students of color and low income students. We've seen double-digit increases with that over the past 2 or 3 years. Improving our CTE programs. We've done an excellent job with that, partnered with MCOE on a number of initiatives there.
Yeah.
Really happy to do that. These last two are really about the Hatching Results professional development. We're in year 2 of a 3-year program. Next year is the 3rd year. One of the outcomes of that training has been building out a 4-year academic plan for all students, starting in 9th grade, even though we can start talking about it in middle school.
Thank you.
And this helps us get towards that UC A to G. So you sit down as a 9th grader and say, I want to go to college. You have to set a different standard for yourself than just the graduation requirement. I would say the key challenge here with AVID, we're showing a little bit decreased enrollment with students in the AVID program, and a challenging time recruiting teachers to stay in the AVID program. It kind of demands a little bit extra from teachers in certain ways. It's a wonderful program, but I want to make sure that we pay attention to this so we still have really good teachers in the AVID program. So that's it for high school.
Okay, 4.3, this goal has not been met. We did not establish a working group to develop an equity plan for the district. We will work on this goal for the 24-25 school year, hoping to use the superintendent's committee on school climate, culture, and equity to be able to do this. So we will bring progress on that coming in the next year. If you look at 4.3 though, we have been doing some work on our anti-racism training and integration. And again, I'm not going to read all of these, but these are the highlights that we have accomplished and successes and outcomes that we've had this year. One I would like to point out too is that we had current monthly meetings with our San Rafael City Schools Parents for Racial Justice and Equity. We met every month and we talked about concerns and impact of those concerns in our classroom and school environments. It laid a great foundation for our plans for next year as far as the superintendent's committee that we would like to form and develop and have a facilitation on. Also too, we are excited to show you the results of the Youth Truth Survey later on this evening, which really gave us a really solid understanding of the experiences in our schools from our staff. And then we've had a lot of social emotional lessons that are being taught by our counselors. We also have consistent messaging that we have been trying to refine. It is not there yet because it is an outcome. It is also a challenge that we're trying to make sure that our messaging is consistent across the board and that we continue to navigate the tension that this brings, because we are part of it just doesn't happen in San Rafael City Schools, it happens everywhere. So we are looking to work continuously and ongoing as far as getting our parents to participate. So this is definitely something that's a work in progress. And it does take time, and this is an urgent issue that we will focus our energies on. So that's what I'd like to share briefly. All right, and then I'd like to introduce Christy, who's going to be talking about 4.4. Please.
Pleasure to see
Our director
tonight.
Nice to
I'm
see
going
you.
to keep this brief. So in the technology side of things, the SMART goal that was previously addressed was by 2024 about a process to update the district digital plan with input from staff, administration, parents, and community. That did not actually occur this year.
I was new to this role this year. We definitely had some district transitions. And then just as kind of mentioned in here in the blurb, that we had technical projects, and then of course the budget was a really big focus this year. However, I'm really excited to be able to start that process next year. It's gonna also be a nice time to do that with the new LCAP that is coming around. So I'm really looking forward to having that input and being able to engage with that planning, and seeing how that will be incorporated with those type of learning that we want to give our students and our teachers.
So just to kind of give you a couple of other things that we did end up doing from the past 3 years. Goal 1, we did actually become a one-to-one Chromebook environment in grades 2nd through 12th grade, which has been amazing. If for a unified data strategy, there was a lot of work that was done with regards to just implementing some things like Clever and some back-end technical solutions, which is useful for us and also for security. I was able to implement and create an app vetting process this year, which we have already started using in order to really understand what's going on in our classrooms, and so for your principals as well to know that. With goal 3, reliable safe infrastructure, this was huge, and this was multi-year work. And this was important work. So that finally was finished, that last part, during the 23-24 school year. So a lot of good technical things have been really happening over the past 2.5 years to get things in a good row. And now we could look at the educational side, so.
I don't know what happened. No. My Chrome closed. So, I think.
I know. I'm standing there.
We can follow.
It's ironic.
It's not rebooting me. I have a feeling the stream stopped, so let me get that going.
Yeah, that's okay, Christina, take your
Although
time.
it says stop live stream, so it might still be going. So Bob, maybe you just wanna.
Sure, I can speak to, so.
Yeah, I will.
You want a break? You want a minute break?
I think he's good.
You got it?
He's
Okay.
good. I'll just keep going.
Goal area, thank you.
Sorry, okay, thank you.
I didn't know she was done.
That was weird.
Okay. The goal area 4.5 was around improving school and district facilities, and I would say overall, communication is a major theme, right? We were able to kick off a new bond program. We were able to implement QR codes at all of our sites so that people could communicate quickly with maintenance and operations when the issues arise. And just overall a better ability to work in sync with the different departments, the bond, the maintenance and operations, and at the site level. We, in terms of some key accomplishments, obviously we're kicking off the new 2022 bond program has been really successful, incredibly a lot happening now and into the summer and beyond. We navigated a difficult process around analyzing the budget and making some tough decisions, and so that was an accomplishment this year. And then, as always, working with our school sites on the school safety plans, really working to implement various layers of security and safety at our campuses, and everything from securing perimeters to placing blocks on doors, window tinting, really working closely with that. And in terms of key challenges, I would just say state budget uncertainty always plays into what we're doing, as well as fluctuating enrollment trends, and an increased expectation and need of our staff and students and community, and always working to try to meet the moment for our people.
All right, so that completes our Together 2024 update for each goal area. So we'll obviously have time for questions, but just wanted to preview what's coming next. So now that we're done talking about Together 2024, we're going to start talking a lot more about our next 2024-25 LCAP. So get ready at the next few meetings. So looking forward to sharing draft and getting further feedback as we refine and develop our new 3-year plan. So with that, we'll take questions.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it to all of you and working so hard on this update. Is this the last goal, or we still have, just so that That's it, right? So we're closing. So thank you, all of you, for all the presentations. And but I would love to pass it to the board in case you have any questions before I open it up to the public about goal 4, systems and structures. All right, trustee Palma or trustee?
Oh,
Okay, or
sorry,
trustee
I just
Neva Marsh,
spaced out.
that's all right.
No, I don't have any formal questions. I just wanna uplift the
Thank
staff for the presentation. I also wanted to appreciate that that lens about A through G, you know, like, I mean, the idea would be, yeah, why don't we just change the policy and just like meet the high standard, but that really is culture change and communication and talking about how that would affect. So I appreciate that there is some foresight about intentionality of how we think about future planning. And I look forward to all the other further updates in general. If I have specific questions though, I will reach back to the specific staff team, so thank you.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Oh, thank you for the updates. It's really looking pretty good and encouraging. Really looking forward to it. My only question is regarding MTSS. Probably I missed it, but are parents involved in these treatments? And that's one question. The other question is, when parents are referred to the is it solar care? And they never, I mean, it takes a while to get an appointment? I mean, what then? Because I know that parents are essential in the treatment for the MTSS.
Yeah, so what kind of referral you mean for the?
No,
what's
they do
happening?
have the referrals, but it's really hard
Takes-
for them to get an appointment.
Yeah, for external folks.
For parents.
Okay, yeah.
Right,
But externally.
Right,
Yeah.
and so when our staff sees a need for additional therapy, for example, they'll help connect the family with resources. And sometimes they go directly to the resource, and sometimes they go through Care Solace, but it's always in partnership with the parent.
Okay, so
And then-
so you are ensuring that they
Oh, yeah.
get to be seen.
Oh, yeah. Well, when they can be, right? And so
That's the
if
problem,
not, that's when it
capacity.
comes back to the
That's the
site, and
question.
the site has to monitor how the student is doing, right? So.
But we don't have control over external providers and what kind of capacity they have, which is a problem across the board in
No,
terms of.
that is
mental health.
clear to me. I guess I didn't make myself clear.
Yeah.
What the point I wanna make is that when you work in a child's behavior, I mean, parents are an essential part of it. I mean, this
yeah.
is talking about the family. It doesn't have to be school only.
Yeah.
So I was just hoping that there was a way to connect them, you know, to be aligned in the process of assisting the child.
Oh, yeah, the
That's all there
parents
was to it.
are informed along the way, and sometimes these also turn into SST meetings, which are the whole school
good.
site team with the teacher and the parents and the student and everyone together.
Yeah, so it's about the parent involvement in this, yeah. Any other questions, trustee Palmer? No. Perfect. Trustee Martin?
I just had a quick question and I could follow up. It's just about, I'm so excited about ION. So, and I don't know if I direct ION questions to you.
Yes, you do.
Yes, okay, so, you know, when there's like the cost and then there's the IEP and then there's ION, does all of that information get like kind of sucked up into ION as a cloud? I'm just curious, cause I'm trying to map it.
Yeah, so I think the first thing is to think of anything we do as a continuum of services, with special education services being the most restrictive, right? And that's, there's all sorts of.
That was my last
pieces
question,
about
so you're
that.
getting there first.
And so everything that would be an ION would be up until a student might transition into an IEP, because that's what is
see.
appropriate for them.
I see.
All of those systems feed into our overarching student information system at
Right.
various levels.
Okay.
But SACE holds all the students' IEPs.
Okay,
ION is gonna hold we're moving fully into ION in TK5 especially. Next year is
Okay.
gonna hold all of the notes for every academic
Okay.
and behavioral intervention we do before. So
okay,
that's the transition we're making.
okay, that's my,
Is
okay,
that-
yes, totally, okay.
Yeah, we need to map it out.
And I will ask more questions later, but I'm super excited about understanding.
To me,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I will make sure.
Thank
that
you.
You get.
Yeah.
I just wanna understand that process flow, I love it, thank you.
Okay.
So thank you all for your work. I'm a little sad about AVID program, but I understand that, you know, you roll out initiatives and sometimes they may not, you know, plan out exactly how you expect. So I appreciate the candor around that so that we can plan on LCAP on what to do about AVID. Because we've been talking about this program for quite a while, so I look forward to getting an update about that. The other thing is, I just wanted to point out, and I know that one of our the head of our teachers union, SRFT, Morgan Agnew, talked a little bit about AI. And I think eventually maybe I would love to see maybe for like when we talk about academics and all of that and performance and digital plan, because I'm also talking about the digital aspect of this, like I am sure there are things there that overlap with technology, the use of technology and the academics. So I wonder if we would love to see how those
I
things.
think what we can do is work
Yeah.
together, put a presentation for you. I know
Mhm.
Christy, she had to leave, but.
No, in the future, so
in
you
the future,
consider
she
it,
would
yeah,
be
yeah.
Happy.
Yeah, no, I know that you are not ready to respond, but some of the things that were pointed out to us, and I was thinking about the same thing, like how we tackle the technology piece with the academic piece.
Yes.
And maybe in the next LCAP, we can think that through a
We can
little bit.
address that.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
a point of feedback.
Yeah,
Very
that's
good
just
point.
for future, because I mean, when we just developed the LCAP last year, it wasn't so obvious the use of ChatGPT or Bard or whatever. Okay, great. Any other questions from the audience, from the public? Any questions or comments from the public on Zoom?
None.
All right, this is great. And I'm gonna channel my trustee Palmer with a lot of her questions around parent engagement, that I'm hoping that all of these updates also trickle to parents as well. This is great. Okay, now we have a presentation about the Youth Truth Survey. And is that gonna be, okay, great. You wanna
Cassie
introduce the
and
topic or? oh,
Yes, so we have two folks. We have Christina and we have Cassie, who are going to be talking about our Youth Truth Survey results for this year.
That's great.
And I am happy to kick us off. I know we have just some new board members. I'm new to Youth Truth, but Youth Truth is actually a national survey, so it gives us an opportunity to compare ourselves to how we are with other school districts in California, as well as across the country. It has a student survey for grades 3 through 12, a teachers and staff survey, and a family survey. There's a lot of alignment and overlap, which you'll see in a moment. We've done Youth Truth for a number of years, and at the end, we'll circle back to how we anticipate moving forward with our partnership with Youth Truth.
Yeah.
So Youth Truth is wonderful in that there are so many areas that it covers. There are so many sets of questions under certain themes. And there is a lot of alignment and overlap, so we can compare how we are doing at a high level. So that's what we're going to be showing you today, the results of our survey that our community took in November 2023, so this past fall. Cassie did a phenomenal job of linking this presentation, which is available to you and the public as well, for all the specific questions that are included under each area. So you can just go check out that document to see the actual questions that are included in that theme. So I'll get this back here. So I'll let Cassie kind of turn it over. You're gonna see a lot of colors. You're gonna see a lot of arrows and a lot of numbers because there's so many different ways to interpret the data. So Cassie did a great job of pulling out the easiest ways and the most efficient ways of viewing this data to give you kind of this high level look.
So as it seems with almost everything I present to you, the actual source of this data is hundreds of pages long, and I'm trying to boil it down to you, which means there will be a lot of information on each slide kind of crammed in there, but I'm gonna give you an overview and get you through it. So we are going to look at each of the three audiences, and we'll take a few slides to look at each one. So we're gonna look at students first, and then we're gonna look at families, and then we'll finish with staff. The students answer questions at all levels in these 6 themes, as you saw on the previous slide. Different levels might have some additional themes. And then we also have diversity, equity, and inclusion, which we saved for a separate slide at the end, so we will get into that. Each level is automatically given 2 highest and 2 lowest rated themes. They might all be at the 90th and above percentile, but if one of them's 97 and one of them's 98 and one of them's 90 and 91, those are gonna be your 2 highest and lowest. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's terrible, but we were looking at trends that might have gone across all 3 levels. And so what we saw is that relationships were one of the lowest rated themes for all of our students, elementary through high school. Elementary students start taking this in 3rd grade, so this is not something that kindergarten through 2nd grade students take, which makes sense. as a former 3rd and 5th grade teacher. And then belonging was one of the highest rated themes across all 3 levels. Some of the changes that have been made, you'll see the colors correlate to the percentile. So that kind of gives you an idea of how we rank nationally. The arrows show the change. So this is one of the slides that has many, many data points in it. And the percent, the actual number, is showing the percent of students who answered in a positive way. So on a scale of 1 to 3 in elementary, they said 3, right? So always, yes, I completely agree, whatever the question said. Middle and high school answer on a scale of 5. So this is the percent of students who answered a 4 or 5 for the questions in this theme. So you can see that in terms of trends from the year prior, elementary did see a small decrease in the percent positives across themes. Middle school saw increase or stable data with a small decrease in the relationships data. And then high school saw small decreases in most areas, but still in kind of that 3rd quartile in the 50th to 74th percentile for some of the themes. But you can see even on this graph, relationships is clearly an outlier in terms of the percent positives and the trend data. So we'll take a closer look at relationships in a minute. Belonging was one of our highest rated themes. So looking at elementary, they answered out of 3, no, hardly ever, 2, sometimes 3, very often. High schoolers and middle schoolers out of a scale of 5, as I said. And this measures the degree to which students feel a sense of belonging at school and the degree to which they feel welcomed by their peers and that they have collaborative relationships with their classmates in the secondary levels. The numbers on this represent the average rating. So elementary, 2.41 out of 3. It's a pretty high rating. You can see it's in that 3rd quartile, 50th to 74th percentile. Middle and high school were both in the mid-3 range, so kind of a middle ground. It was still one of our highest rated themes. High school was in the 50th to 74th percentile, and middle school was in the 2nd quartile, so 25th to 49th percentile. The questions underneath each level correlate to the highest rated question within the theme for green and the lowest rated question within the theme. So this is something that when principals look at their site data, they can kind of get into more granular information. One of the ways we work with site leaders is to look at both their previous SIPSA goals as well as use this to create new SIPSA goals. And I believe you heard Principal Kernan from Bahia Vista mention the way she's using her youth truth data at last week's board meeting. Okay, relationships. This was a little bit hard to see that it was still one of our lowest rated themes because it was something that was low last year as well. Our former superintendent Hogaboom talked a lot about relationships when we went over the youth truth data, and we can see that we still have some work to do in that area. Elementary school is in that 2nd quartile with an average rating of 2.68. Again, out of 3. So we're still close to 3, but I guess thinking about how elementary teachers or elementary students feel strong supportive relationships with their teachers, maybe nationwide they're answering even closer to a 3. Middle and high school, very similar data in the 0 to 24th percentile. And the green questions are the highest rated questions. Red questions are the lowest rated questions. So understanding what life is like outside of school. Fairness is important for 3rd through 5th graders, as you can imagine when the students are 8 through 11. So relationships is something that we still have work to do as a district. Moving to families. Families did not have such a neat parallel across levels. We did have two common highest rated themes across all three levels, engagement and communication and feedback. And I think communication and feedback, we need to give props to Ms. Brino over here because she is our Director of Communications and she's done a lot of work on that. And that was
our family center teams and our community
Yes,
liaisons, always
yes,
those
yes.
questions follow.
But I know communication and feedback was also one of the targeted goals in Together 2024 and just see that it's high. Middle school was the outlier for the lowest rated themes, which was interesting. But we will take a look. Overall though, family data looks great. We have elementary is across the board in the highest quartile relative to nationwide. Almost every single item is trending upwards, except for school safety in middle and high school, but those are still in the third quartile in terms of their percentile rankings. And then resources, which is an interesting, it's hard to judge by the title of the theme what resources means.
Yeah.
It generally is a way of families assessing whether the school has the resources that they need to help the students be successful. So that is in the second quartile, but it had a 6% improvement over last year. So it's moving in the right direction. Engagement, very high. Because these are all adults, everyone ranks out of 5. So elementary school is above 4, middle school is high 3s, and high school is mid 3s. Most families seem to feel represented by their PTA or the Parent Teacher Association. And then some families are still feeling kind of a lack of engagement, but still based on the overall rankings, I would say that that's not a huge concern at the moment. Resources though, so it describes the degree to which families believe their school deploys the necessary resources to support students. So you can see that the parents were split across levels on this. We had a very high rating in elementary school, third quartile rating in middle school, and then second quartile in high school. Setting high expectations for students is a concern among our secondary parents. But guidance is a strength in elementary and middle school. Finally, we're going to get to staff. Staff had no common themes across levels, so we were all mixed up there, which is fine. But all of the trends were positive, and many of them were positive in the double digits.
That's great.
So while we didn't have any common themes, we were very excited to see the amount of positive growth amongst our staff who responded. And you can see high school actually has all third and fourth quartile responses, which is very exciting to see because I know there's been a lot of work around professional development and teacher leadership team and kind of collective advocacy at the high school level. So looking at culture, it's the degree to which staff believe their school fosters a culture of shared vision, respect, and effective communication. High school feels very strongly that school policies are disseminated and they have a positive, but a little concerned about positive work environment, but again, highest rated theme. School employees are committed to the success in both elementary and middle school. But information being disseminated is something that was the lowest rated question within the highest rated theme. School safety is a concern. This is about the school being a safe learning environment for students. There are clear rules for students at the middle and high school. And adults try to stop bullying at the elementary school level. But students being safe from bullying is a concern among staff at the secondary level. And having clear rules is a concern in the elementary level. So now we're going to get to diversity, equity, and inclusion. There is one cell on this graph that really stands out. I would like to direct your attention to the arrows though on this graph. Elementary students are asked a question slightly different than middle school students. Elementary students are asked if adults from school value people of different backgrounds. And that's literally the wording of the question, which is somewhat opaque as a former elementary teacher. But even so, even though that cell is in the lowest quartile, the data remained flat, and so we can move up from here. And almost every other trend is positive, some in the double digits. We even have one that went up 34% over the last year. Middle school and high school students are asked if my school encourages students, each group is asked about their own group. It asks students to speak out against racism, or asks families to speak out against racism, or asks staff to speak out against racism. And you can see amongst our family and our staff audiences, we have all third and fourth quartile ratings, and we have 34% increase, 25% increase, 20% increase. So I think the takeaway from this is that we have some work to do with our student population at each level. But the work we have done so far with our families and our staff has started to pay off and is starting to show up in the data.
Right, thank you so much, Cassie. Wanted to talk about how we are using these results and feedback. So again, these surveys were given at the beginning of December and through December. So our principals and district leadership team have had the data since middle January and have been working on it to incorporate in this current school year, as well as their school plans for next year, looking at it, areas of strength and areas of improvement. And meeting with the different groups to review the data and present the data to understand it more and to be accountable for what we have asked families and asked staff, and reporting it back, and certainly analyzing it for our future LCAP and other school plans. Wanted to take a moment to kind of refresh the board with what our thinking is for moving forward. I think, as you may recall, that due to budget reductions, we are proposing moving to using the Youth Truth every other year. We think it will be a loss of this valuable survey, but there is so much data. There is so much information that to really get in and analyze it and use it, it's okay to take a year in terms of refreshing that data. And so then we might see more changes over that 2-year. And really take the opportunity in the off year, as you can call it, to do different surveys. So our students every other year, it's already on an off year cycle, the California Healthy Kids Survey. So that would be, they would have one survey a year. So not overloading the students. And it gives us an opportunity for staff and families to develop our own district customized survey, which we have done before. And I think it's a great opportunity to really zero in on what some of our current points that we want to cover with families and staff and get more feedback. So we really do see it as a positive, actually, and working with like our PTOs to ask questions that they might be interested in and aligning their surveys there. And then in the following year, we would do Youth Truth and then going back and forth. So with that, we know that was a lot, so
that's great.
Offer opportunity for questions.
Thank you very much for the presentation to both of you, and I know that's a lot of data. I've seen the data. It is incredibly hard to sort out. So really, thank you for doing this. Do we have any questions from the trustees?
Just to, again, thank you for this update. And also for clarifying the difference between Youth Truth versus California Healthy Kids Survey versus creating a specific focused district survey. I noticed in the future survey slide, the recommendation of in the off year, staff and families would take surveys we develop in-house, et cetera. Like, actually, there's another point about, maybe it's in driving change, but the opportunity for community or young people to be able to look at the data and analyze the data, I think that was something that was highlighted. My question is, would that be a process that we would use then to do the same for California Healthy Kids Survey data, same with the district focused data? You don't have to answer it now, but I just think about minus the district focused data surveys, because that can change year to year, but standardizing a process, because when you compare data, and I know Cassie would appreciate this, when you compare data side by side, and I use this as my former California Healthy Kids survey hat, to be honest, when as a community partner, it's challenging when questions change, and then how do you compare those data tracks? And so that's something to think about. I'm not saying no, I'm all about collaborative community process, especially when young people who are taking the surveys or the families and the staff, you want to avoid survey fatigue, but I also think about what is that process so we can try to keep the data as tight and comparable moving forward.
Yeah, that's one positive that we see with Youth Truth. We always we have people ask, can I just change the question this way? It's like,
Right,
no, we
exactly.
can't, because then we lose that comparable history, so.
That's a good observation. Excellent. Trustee Palmer?
I don't have any questions.
All right.
I'll read it again and I'll email you.
It
It was a lot for me.
Yeah, it is.
I have no questions. I will have a follow-up with you later. All good. Thank you for the presentation. It was super great. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. And I just mentioned that trustees, trustee Niedermayer, you were not here last year, I think, when we did this, but trustee Palma probably remembers that we have this last year. And I'm happy to see an improvement. So, but the question I had is whether the universe of respondents was, how different was from last year, because I know we've done quite a bit of work here to communicate this, and this is definitely an improvement.
Yeah, let
but
me see
one
if I can
thing-
pull it up. We
Did you
did,
have
Just presented that last
we did
week.
last time. Sorry, we didn't touch that again.
Yeah, that's all right.
Goal 3, we talked about for the
Having
LCAP.
more folks.
We talked
Yeah.
about doing a campaign.
Let me just get it.
If you don't have that information, that's all right.
So
I
we,
just
in
wanna-
terms of the increase,
Mhm.
we do have it. Went up by.
Yeah.
In terms of participation,
Yeah.
so we had a 1% increase with elementary parents taking it, so we now have 56% of our families. And we saw as high in the 90s for schools like Bahia Vista.
That's
We know
wonderful.
they really pressed their families to take it.
That's right.
Davidson increased, middle school parents,
Mhm.
we had a 1% increase in families at 30% respondents. And then high school, that's where we really had a low number at 11%, and we were thrilled to get up to 20%, so that's where we saw a big increase.
Yeah.
So we were really pleased. So in terms of
Yeah.
the families participating, we are seeing higher numbers year over year.
That is incredible work to all of you, because obviously for us, having family giving us feedback through the survey is great, because otherwise it would be hard for the board to listen to all of this. So this is
I
great.
do have one quick question now that I remember.
Oh, yeah,
that I
mhm.
could ask her.
Yeah.
Because you did mention that I remember.
Yeah.
Family resources.
Yeah.
I know that we do have a good list of family resources that I've been reading. And I really don't understand what the results on the survey. And I don't know how we can get the parents engaged to find out what the resources are. Do we need a separate list? I mean, how do they find out about it? And I know that we post them because as a parent, I get it, I receive them. And there is a good number of parents who are still out there saying that they don't know what we have to offer. So there is a
Disconnect.
yes, and I don't know how we can make that work. It's not that we don't have them, but they're reporting that we don't. They are reporting that we do not.
That
I mean,
doesn't
what
mean
what can we,
reality. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Because those reports are not really, I mean, that's what they're saying, but I honestly believe that information is incorrect. And how can we get to this, how can we make this happen, that they do know that all the type of resources that we have for
That we offer.
parents?
That's true. Thank you so much for that. I don't know, Christina, you wanna speak to that? Or-
Yeah, we certainly
It has
can.
always been a challenge, right?
It's always been a
It's just
challenge.
getting worse
It will
now.
continue to be a challenge.
Yeah.
But we know that our school leaders are really the strongest connection. Our teachers are our strongest connections with our families. Our community liaisons are really strong. But it will take everybody working together to kind of keep reaching those families and reminding them. We know the Community Schools Initiative is a key part of that effort as well.
Yeah. No, thank you for highlighting all those partnerships, and to the families that spend some time responding to all of this, and that they know that we actually are reading this result. So every time you do the survey, just, validating that we do appreciate the time that they spend engaging with us.
Yes, totally.
Thank you so much. All right, we have a next item, no, open it to the public. Any public comments?
Seeing none on Zoom.
Zoom, all right. So the next item that we have the agenda, it's about the budget reserve information and update. So this is very important for us. But I think with the situation that we currently have, maybe the superintendent, what do you think about moving this, so that we have more clarity and offer more clarity to the public? What do you all think?
So in the interest of time,
Yeah.
we have some big
Pressing.
items to discuss, and because the May revise has been recently released and it has reflected a revised COLA. What we would like to do, Mr. Marcucci would like to bring the reserves back, but weave it into the board, the budget adoption
That would be good.
presentation. So we'll have it as part of our final budget adoption presentation before the school year is out. And we will have a section there where we will discuss our reserves as, they're reflected with the most recent information.
Would that be
all right with
okay?
you.
Absolutely, yeah.
How does the board feel about this?
I feel that's great.
That's
especially
appropriate?
And if we can put at the beginning of the agenda, that'll be even better.
Yeah.
Seriously, because there's so many
I
presentations and it's
laugh.
like.
No, it's true, it's true.
We're more fresh.
I can only comprehend so much,
The
I'm
budget is an
sorry.
important item, and I know that also trustee Kerner will appreciate it too.
Agreed,
Yeah,
yes.
all right.
Yeah.
Do we have to make a motion to remove it?
Yes.
Let's do it just
Or
in
table
case. So I need to entertain a motion to remove this item from the agenda.
I approve.
I you have to move.
I know, but she moved too, so I'll let her move.
Okay, so trustee, moved by trustee Palma and second by trustee Martin. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? Abstentions seeing none. Okay, that item passes. In business services update about the reserve and budget will be moved to our next meeting. So thank you so much for the flexibility, Mr. Marcucci. Thank you, Mr. Marcucci. All right, do we need a few minute break or can we continue? Is that okay? We can, if you need to get up, okay. Discussion and action session. Okay, so, we need to talk about this. Board members participating in a 2024 graduation ceremonies in degree promotions. Who's gonna speak about this? Okay. Are you gonna give us a hard time because we haven't filled out the form? You should, Morena. You absolutely should.
I filled out the form.
Good for you. No, it's okay.
No, but in the link you will see,
Yeah.
like what has been entered
Mhm.
regarding the participation of
Yeah.
trustees and cabinet.
Yes,
And it's for you to approve, to revise it and approve.
all right.
So if I can just say,
Yeah,
then
please.
the Madrone High School graduation, trustee Palma will be attending, I believe. And then Davidson, we don't have a board member. Yeah.
Marina Palma, Carolina, and Mo will attend.
Oh, they're all,
Madrone.
see, I see what you're saying. So trustee Martin, trustee Mo Dineva Marsh will be all attending Madrone, and at Davidson, it will be trustee
Yeah.
Dineva Marsh, trustee Martin. And then at Venetia Valley Promotion, it will be trustee Dineva Marsh. At San Rafael High School, it will be trustee Dineva Marsh. And at Terra Linda, it will be trustee Martin and trustee Kerner.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So that's what we just wanted to.
So what did I sign up for? I didn't. hear
I
my
think no,
name.
this is the graduations, my dear, the
Madrone.
graduation.
Oh, those are early, huh?
What do you mean by early, sorry?
Early like in the morning?
The
No,
Madrone
forget the
one,
schedule.
no, they're in the
4
afternoon,
o'clock.
afternoon. They're in the afternoon.
It's at 4 o'clock
I
on.
will reach
Yeah,
out.
then she can
Okay.
reach out to you, but also we are approving this to right now, but we can always make changes if
scheduling,
to
yes.
scheduling. So please know that even though we are approving this, please connect with Morena and I
Yes.
have nothing but a gratitude for trying to get us all to participate in all
Morena,
this
thank you
events.
for collecting
So,
us
thank you,
all.
Morena.
Yes, I'm so grateful.
Lots of hats.
And to the superintendent also recruiting us to do this wonderful events.
You need a motion.
I do, I need a motion, please.
Second.
Move by trustee Palma, second by trustee, do we have any public comments? Seeing none, okay,
Seeing none.
sorry. Trustee, moved by trustee Palma and second by trustee Martin, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
One against, abstention, seeing none, okay, the motion passes unanimously. All right, so we're on track. Woo! This is great, okay. Thank you so much, now we're gonna hand it out to facilities, capital facilities in approval of San Rafael High School landscape master plan, wonderful.
Hi,
Hello.
so it's, thank you for your time. I'm here tonight to introduce the landscape master plan for the San Rafael High School. This master plan is in response to our 2015 EIR, where we talked about creating a master plan, and we have it here in front of you tonight. A master plan, in fact, creates a guideline. It is not for construction. It sets standards of what we will do when we get to areas to do construction.
Yeah.
We have another person online that would like to join us. That is Shauna Wright from Gates, and I also have with us tonight Janan Abdenor from HY Architects, who led this process. But I also want to point out the rest of my team, since they're all here tonight. We have John Delina from Greystone West, Will McManus from Greystone West, Bill Savage from Vabco Construction, and none of us would be here to do anything if we didn't have Patty Lamas from Vabco Construction here, keeping us all in line. So I'm gonna be here if she has any questions or needs any assistance, but I'm gonna let Janan run this presentation.
I stopped it just for a moment so you can see Shauna on screen.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you for having us tonight. So as Tim explained, this is a sort of a guideline document that we prepared and correct direction here. Just briefly, we're gonna try to run through this at a high level and not take too much time, but what we'd like to do is just explain how we started, how we put the report together. And Shauna is actually gonna take us through just a little bit of examples of what you'll see when you look at the full report, the existing conditions and some of the summary conclusions. If you have any questions, we'll be very happy to take them. So the kind of general guiding vision for this document was to create a cohesive vision for the softscape, the plants and the greenery that you'll see at the San Rafael High School campus. We, HY, we've been working at this campus for a very long time now, so we wanted to not only look at what has been done, but also to look at the master plan for total kind of construction build out vision for the campus and fold those together. We're also taking into consideration the district has developed landscape standards, which, largely fold in maintenance considerations for, long-term health of these plants and this kind of ability for what we put in to be maintained over time and look nice down the road. Other components that fed into this process, as Tim mentioned, the environmental impact report, there were some both general and specific criteria that were outlined in those EIR documents that we folded in here. And from the sort of the soft touch stuff, we were looking at noise and light and how that might impact the community, maintenance and upkeep, as we mentioned before, the district landscape standards, and the kind of community experience. So, and Shauna's going to talk to this a little bit more, but we recognize that, the campus has many different faces. They have a residential side, they have a public side, they have an internal face. There's community use of the campus as well. So we wanted to be able to have the landscape adapt and respond to all these different components. And with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Shauna to walk us through a bit about the report itself.
Hey everyone, my name is Shauna. I'm a planner at Gates and Associates. We're a landscape architecture firm based in Walnut Creek. I'm gonna be as brief as possible while still taking you through what we did, how we did it, and how to use this going forward. Our plan is intended to be clear and easy to reference guidance for any future decisions in the landscape. If you guys have any questions at the end of the presentation, I'd be happy to answer them as well. So we took the campus and we divided it into 4 zones: arrival, edge, parking, and campus core. We noted where and how people enter the site to understand that experience. Once we delineated the zones, we briefly outlined what's there. We compiled our observations into categories shown in this report card. So landscape, trees, mulch/exposed soil, and irrigation. We gave each of these a grade from A to C. So A is healthy, it doesn't need to be replaced. B is it shows signs of age, it might need to be replaced soon. And C is it does need to be replaced in the near term. Our observations could include things like the type of ground surfacing that's there, its condition, generally just what's working in the landscape and what's not. This example report card has 2 columns to acknowledge how conditions can vary within these zones, and I'll tell you a little bit more about how we got more granular in our assessment on a later slide. But from there, we used our zone framework to outline the recommendations. So we set a general expectation and offer ways that the landscape can be used to achieve these types of goals in terms of how campus looks and feels. An example is to provide year-round visual interest that complements the existing architectural style of the buildings, or to use plantings as a screening tool for adjacent uses in a way that still blends with the surroundings and preserves the campus aesthetic. So these recommendations are aligned with the EIR and the district landscape standards based on site observations and conversations with staff. We believe these recommendations take advantage of some unique opportunities we saw on campus while we were there. And so lastly, we offer you planting palettes that are sorted by trees, shrubs, and ground cover / grasses that also note spacing, water maintenance requirements. We want to make sure we're using plants that are appropriate for the region and that the landscape plan itself is aligned with sustainability principles and practices. Those little icons there on the table indicate if it's a native plant, otherwise it's an adapted species, still appropriate for the microclimate and the campus's visual character. So we noted if they're evergreen or deciduous trees or shrubs, just to make sure that there's a balance and variety of seasonal interest throughout the year. So the next slide, we'll take a closer look at the meat of the report. So this is one of the assessment pages. This is looking at one piece of the edge zone. We briefly describe what's there and assign those grades. We discuss the condition of the landscape and related site elements. Next slide, please.
Just going to interject and say, on the whole, the report card is very looking really positive. You read them all. It's looking pretty good.
Yeah, this diagram shows that there are distinct but related pockets within campus within the zone framework, and those little bubbles with numbers in them tie directly to these different planting palettes that we offer. So for the steep area on the east side and the campus core in gray, we briefly discuss them in the report, but we don't make specific recommendations for new plantings. Specifically in the core, since it had those recent improvements, we just give some high-level pointers on maintenance, but we don't go in depth. So by further breaking down these zones, it allowed us to define some of those unique opportunities and intended functions. Specifically for the edges, we wanted to treat the linear strips differently based on if they're more public facing or residential facing, just to make sure our recommendations are aligned with the overall design intent and desired experience for visitors. Specifically for the residential edge, we focus on using evergreen trees to screen buildings, fields, parking areas from view, while also mitigating light and noise. So these palettes note the types of spacing that's needed, given that there's some more narrow edges. We recommend street trees along the residential edge where it's feasible to create a continuous linear canopy while avoiding some of the solar powered street signs. And then as a final example of some of our zone specific recommendations, we propose using durable shrubs and ground covers in the setback areas between the buildings and sidewalks to soften building edges and delineate the site functions. For areas like the parking lots, we don't necessarily want that dense spacing used for buffer plantings because we want to keep those sightlines free and open for safety. So that zone has a very different landscape approach. And to add a note, the report does mention the solar canopy that's planned for part of one of the parking lots. So there's no trees recommended for that area. These are just some examples to give you an idea about how we were thinking about each zone. But for all of them, we recommend things like seasonal weeding, transitioning non-recreational lawn areas to planting areas, and adding mulch back where it's lacking. So the next slide is a recommendation page. You can see one of these palettes for the arrival area and some images to understand some of those seasonal colors, as well as a blurb about the intention of the space, which is generally that the arrival areas should be attractive, welcoming, recognizable. We know the waiting areas, drop-off zones, and those high traffic entries should be focal points of interest, and thinking about how the landscape can support that. So we offer some strategies for minimizing maintenance requirements as well, such as using boulders and decorative gravel between plantings, which can provide a balance of textures and colors, while also serving as a natural weed control strategy, for example. So that's our report in a nutshell. The last slide is just for questions in case I can clarify anything that I sped through. If you guys have any thoughts, they're more than welcome. It was a pleasure to work on this project. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Do you have any other comments?
So tonight, this is an action
Yeah.
with the board adopting
Mhm.
the master plan
Yeah.
of the landscape at the facility. We also worked with maintenance to make sure that we met their needs. We did set some standards so that we can have the same plant palettes or plant approach at all of our schools. So
Fantastic. Well, thank you for all the work on this. We look forward to seeing what the school's gonna look like. What's the timeline for this? Sorry if I missed that. The timeline,
it's the rest of the bond.
the bond.
So this is just a plan for what we would build when we build.
Journey. The journey.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
like it. Okay, fantastic. Sorry, I'll open up for questions for the board. Thank
So
you.
the report card format that you presented tonight would be applicable to any like future planning. This is just like the format that we would follow when we're assessing the different pieces. I missed the.
Yes, the slides don't show the entire report. The entire report is attached and it's talking about, we did take an assessment so that when we get a project like, she is doing the aquatic center and all the work around that, there are areas in there that we have to address with landscape at the same time. So if it has a very low level, we need to get to it right away, but we can also use this to show maintenance. Here's areas that are underperforming.
So that was my comment. I appreciated the standardization and also the ability to be able to understand this, especially for our general audience, even though the larger report is formatted. I love that type of strategy and it was very clear and cut. So thank you.
I want to be very clear that was Gates. They're.
I appreciate it as someone who's coming in as a newer board member, so information to be accessible. So thank you.
Trustee Palmer?
No, my comment is that it looks pretty attractive, and if the bond is paying for it and includes maintenance, I mean,
yeah, right.
it's a go.
Trustee, thank you so much.
Right?
Thanks, Trustee Palmer.
Yeah, I have no comments. I'm just saying super exciting. Thank you so much for all of your work. I remember going to Carnival like 7 years ago, 5 years ago, and like seeing the high school then to now and then having that consistency in our journey sounds super exciting. Thank you for all the hard work for the whole team. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. And thanks again to the parents for supporting and the families and not just parents because it's residents overall supporting all of these initiatives. I need a motion to approve this master plan, please. Oh, I'm sorry,
we do have a
comments.
public
I'm
comment.
so sorry. Thank you so much. Do I have to open it to public comments? Please.
Seeing one
Yes,
on Zoom,
comment right now.
Ellen Gillian, you can unmute yourself and begin.
Yes, apologies for that.
Thank you. Hi, Shauna. Everything looks beautiful. Excuse me, I have COVID, so I'm just barely hanging in. But I have a question on, I live on Mission. So I live directly across from Zone 5 that you were talking about. And we did used to have some beautiful trees that provided some mitigation and a very beautiful view. And now they've been taken down and we have a view of the shed and those tires that I'm sure you've seen. And so, but basically we just see a bunch of old tires and a shed and some, it just looks, it basically looks like a junkyard back there. And that's the view from across from my house now. So I'm wondering what, if anything, you have planned. Is there going to be a new fence or anything at all to help mitigate the view? And also I did submit some pictures. I know Tim Ryan is wondering what the dates are. They're current. I can get the metadata for the dates, but the current view is a shed, weeds, old tires, and at night we get the baseball lights because the trees have been chopped down. So I'm just wondering what sort of landscaping you might have in mind for that area to help restore some sort of, coverage for us.
Yeah, if I'm understanding correctly, you live
Wait a second.
Hang on 1 second,
One second.
Shauna.
Okay.
We have to finish. Yes.
So, we don't have any construction plan for that area.
I mean landscaping.
We don't have any landscape plan for that area. This is a master plan.
Yeah.
Which sets standards for what we would build if we build in something in the future. So tonight's action is not regarding any individual construction project. Shauna, would you like to talk about what we do have planned in that zone back there?
Sure, yeah, I was gonna say that we do call out, if I'm understanding correctly, you live near the arts building, the renovated
I
arts
live
building,
right across from the shed that,
right?
The arrow that shows behind the gym.
Yeah, so that area, we do call that area out specifically for buffer and screen plantings and trees.
yeah, it's right now, it's a rusted gate, the rusty gate area. So
So I'm so sorry, this is not like, we make public comments and we get to respond, so, yeah, we cannot go back and forth. So we need to either stop the timer or let her finish the time that she has.
I'm sorry, I thought the public could ask questions.
Yes, you can ask questions, but you have to do it in one time and then, so if you have, if your time is continued, you can finish the question that you have, but we cannot go in questions and back and forth and answers. Unfortunately, that's not how the board meeting
I was
works.
just asking I saw the plan for other parts of the area. I was just asking what the plan is for that area.
Yeah, that's okay. Is that gonna be the end of your comments so that I can close your comments?
Not for the whole plan, just for the landscaping.
All right, yes, we're gonna talk about the landscaping. Okay. Thank you for your comments. Do you wanna respond anything else about this?
No, ma'am.
Okay, great. Do you wanna finish what you were saying, Shawna, so that we allow for this?
You good, Shauna?
Yep, no, I'm good, yeah, yep, buffer and screen plantings in that area.
Thank you so much. All right, I do need a motion to approve the master plan, please.
Motion to approve the master plan.
Moved by trustee Daniela March. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by trustee Palma. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? Abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passes unanimously, and thank you again for
Great.
presenting the master plan.
Thank you.
All right,
Appreciate you coming in.
we have the next one is also capital facilities.
And Bob wanted to make a comment prior to 3 and 4 really fast.
Okay, for sure.
Yeah, just very quickly, just
Yeah.
first, I always want to take the opportunity to appreciate the capital facilities team and all of the consultants and district staff and everyone. It is very comforting as someone in my position to know that we have such knowledgeable people that aren't just knowledgeable, they actually really care about our facilities, so thank you. I also wanted to just provide a little bit of context for the board as you listen to these next two items, in that incredible amount of work goes into EIR, or environmental impact review, and supplemental EIR, and it really drives work that goes forward, in the sense that we need to have these in place so that we can stay on timeline and sort of move these really important projects at both of our high schools forward. So I would ask that the board think about if there are any major concerns that you have about any of the content of these, that you potentially consider approving them with some stipulations or something, that, you know, we approve it, but we'd like you to look into you know, something further, or just approve it. But I want to just create that frame for you as you go forward about how important it is for this to keep us moving forward on time.
Thank you. Thank you for that context.
Yeah. Thank you. So I'm here to talk about the Terra Linda EIR, and Will McManus from Greystone was data collecting. And we also have, we're gonna be presenting tonight, Jessica Johnson from DWK, who happens to also be a parent. But for 10 months, I have been asking you to move the consent agenda to the beginning of the meeting, and you did it tonight, and I really, really appreciate that. However, items 13.1 and 13.2 are actions that need to happen after we take action on EIR.
We can go back.
Yes, and I will let Jessica talk about that
So
administrative.
glad attorney is here.
Yes, how we clean that up. So I will be sitting here if there's any need for me to chime in. I doubt there will be. Jessica is very well versed. In fact, is one of the experts in California on this topic, so.
All right, so I'm here to talk about solely CEQA and what we're doing with the Terra Linda AR and what these decisions mean. If you have questions about the project, those are better. Okay, so just in general, CEQA, it applies to every public, not every, but most public agency decisions on project approval. And so there's different processes, different documents that you create, but for Terra Linda, we created an environmental impact report. And that's one of well, it is the highest process that you go through under CEQA. It's the most thorough, and it does the most thorough analysis. the EIR is a document that you consider before taking an action on a project. The first thing that needs to be done is certifying the EIR. And so in that step, there's 3 things that get certified. You're certifying that the EIR was completed in compliance with CEQA, that it reflects the board's independent judgment and analysis, and that you have reviewed it and considered all the information in the EIR before making a decision on the project. The second document that's going to be attached to your resolution, so that the resolution is attached to the EIR in its entirety, which is why this is such a long resolution. The second document that's attached is the findings and project approval, so you're going to be considering that in conjunction. For the findings, you cannot approve a project unless the environmental impacts have been reduced to a less than significant level. Since this project does have potentially significant environmental impacts, your options here are to disapprove the project, to approve it as mitigated with the mitigation measures, or approve a project alternative. Each of the impacts that needs to be mitigated has specific findings, and the findings document specific to that mitigation measure and that potential impact. All impacts for the Terra Linda project have been reduced to a less than significant impact. Just to quickly go over, there were 12 areas that were deeply discussed and analyzed in the EIR. There were 19 total, but some of them got rolled out by the review through the initial study process, areas like population and housing, things that have no impact on school projects. So the areas where there is a less than significant impact with mitigation are aesthetics, air quality, biological resources, recreation, and cumulative impacts. There are no significant unavoidable impacts for this project. There were also alternatives that were considered. Findings are technically only required in accordance with alternatives if mitigation does not reduce impacts less significant, so that's not applicable here. However, we do have findings for the alternatives as well. The final document that's going to be attached to your resolution is a notice of determination, which if you certify the EIR and you approve the project, that you would be authorizing district staff to file a notice of determination, which triggers the challenge period for the project. So just to recap, for certifying the EIR, or being asked by district staff to certify the EIR, you are making the findings and approving the project, you are adopting the MMRP, and you are authorizing district staff to file and the notice of determination. Any questions on that process?
I will open it to my colleagues. Questions?
Just for an education moment, this is
I
just the
didn't
standard
want to touch
procedure
Yeah.
for an EIR.
Yeah, this is
process.
this is
Okay.
the required statutory procedure.
Great, thank you. Gonna plant that seed in my brain.
No questions.
You guys are easy.
And thank you for participating in all those committees, trustee Martin, appreciate it. No questions on my end either, but I don't know if I'm gonna open it to the public right now. Thank you for the reminder, because it's late and it's very important that we hear from the public. So now I'm gonna open it to public comments. Anyone in the room? On Zoom,
On
please?
Zoom, we have Cynthia F. Cynthia, you can unmute yourself and begin.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Great. I'm commenting on the artificial turf in this plan. I'm asking for you to rethink covering acres of land with this plastic carpet, leaving this plastic outdoors to degrade under UV light, heat, and heavy foot traffic. Under these conditions, plastic carpet releases chemically laced nanoplastics into the environment for years. These nanoplastics contaminate air, soil, and water, both locally and wherever they're carried on wind currents. This pollution is also occurring during the plastic carpet production, transport, and for hundreds of years at the site of disposal, all of which may be out of sight and mind for us, but which represents a legacy of environmental injustice for what is typically disadvantaged BIPOC communities. Nanoplastics and PFAS pollution of the environment from plastic turf and many other sources has gotten so out of control that both are inescapable and thus now found by researchers to be polluting nearly all of our bodies, which is extremely alarming as both are linked to cancer. We can do better. I urge you to send this resolution back to the drawing board. The project analysis that was prepared for you neglected to explore a project alternative that meets all 8 of the project objectives while being much less environmentally impactful than the proposed project. The unexplored alternative is to keep the project as proposed, but replace the artificial turf with renovated natural grass. Keep all the other project amenities, just instead of plastic turf, choose natural turf, a drought-tolerant cultivar that can handle high traffic. Construct the facilities with modern irrigation and drainage. Get training in modern natural grass management from a professional that has a track record of keeping a high-use athletic field of natural turf in safe condition for 15 years on a public budget. Such professionals exist, but were not consulted. We do not have to suffer with fields that aren't level, need to be closed for rain, have bare spots and divots. I've given you names of multiple organizations that consult for public agencies across the country and how to give their youth consistent level, high traffic, natural grass athletic fields on a public budget. It's feasible, and over the long run, even including water and maintenance, will not cost you more than plastic grass and its replacements. We can do so much better for our kids and the world they're inheriting than burdening them with more plastic pollution and PFAS pollution. Please choose well-managed natural grass rather than plastic turf for Terra Linda. The resolution you're being asked to adopt says the board has read and considered all environmental documentation comprising the report, including comments received from the public. Have you really had time to do this? Have you read and considered the lengthy comments I submitted? I don't believe staff even attached them to the agenda packet till Friday, a day after the agenda was published. So if you understandably haven't had time to digest the details of the environmental consequences of plastic turf and read about modern natural grass management, please postpone adoption of this resolution until you've had time. Once you've digested the content, it will be clear we can and should take artificial turf out of the project plans and make a plan for well-managed renovated natural grass. We need local electeds like you to step up and lead the way in demonstrating how we can build a society that is just and sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comment. Do we have any other public comments, Christine?
Seeing none.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have anything else? I think we just need a motion. Is that all? We need a further presentation about the options, so.
No, you can just do a
You can just do the motion.
Although just to clarify the, I mean, as you know, there was a new artificial turf alternative in the environmental impact report. And the comment that was referenced by the public commenter was received in spam. It was discovered on Friday, or I'm sorry, on Thursday, and a response was completed and put in as a supplemental response to the agenda, and it was done within the 72-hour window.
But the comment, ultimately, that's not included in the.
It is included as a supplement to the final.
But the comment was included now. It will be included for later on. It's just that
It was included within the Brown Act, and it will be included as part of, yes.
Thank you so much for that. Okay, so I will entertain a motion. The move by trustee Martin. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by trustee Palma. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone against? Abstention? Seeing none, that motion passes. Thank you very much, and thank you for all the work on this, and we appreciate having you here, walking you through this. All right, now we have again another item about capital cities, but now it's gonna be about Santa Fe High School.
Yes,
Is that right?
Santa Fe High School, and it is a supplemental EIR, making changes to an existing EIR. It's a lesser, it's a shorter document. It's only 683 pages as opposed to 1,000. And it has the same level of review, the same level of input. And again, I'll turn it over to Jessica to make the presentation.
All right, so we're doing the similar thing here, however, we're dealing with a supplemental EIR. So as you know, in 2016, a draft EIR was performed and the final EIR was approved by the board in 2017, having to do with the master facilities plan for San Rafael High School. Since that time, there have been proposed changes to the project that was addressed. And so district staff, after doing an initial study, decided that a supplemental environmental impact report would be necessary to address those changes. In a supplemental EIR, you're not redoing the whole thing. It's just looking at the incremental changes between the impacts of the project that was originally analyzed and the impacts of the project as changed. So it's incremental change that's being evaluated, and it only needs to contain the information necessary to make the prior EIR adequate. So that's really the only difference here. As you can see, it's still a very thorough document. However, instead of analyzing, it analyzes 9 areas of significance in the supplemental EIR. 8 of those areas are areas that would become less than significant with mitigation. So, and those areas are aesthetics, air quality, biological resources, geology and soils, hazards and hazardous materials, hydrology and water quality, and noise and cumulative. We're going through the same steps here, and I can repeat them all over again, but I'll do it super high level. So again, certifying the EIR, that's the first step.
Yeah.
EIR completed in compliance with CEQA, that's part one. Reflects board's independent judgment and analysis, second part, and then third part, reviewed and considered, the board has reviewed and considered the info in the EIR before approving the project. If you certify the EIR, you are going to be considering the findings for the impacts and the mitigation measures. And in order to approve the project, you need to conclude and find that all of the impacts have been reduced to a less than significant level under CEQA. If you adopt the project and make the findings, then you would be approving the MMRP, which is the document that helps regulate and make sure that the mitigation measures are being followed, and you'd be authorizing the filing of the notice of determination.
All right. Thank you again for walking us through all of this. Do we have any public comments in the room? Public comments on Zoom?
Seeing one.
Yes, please.
Hello, Gillian, you can unmute yourself and begin.
I thank you. Again, Lena Guillen, excuse me. I have reviewed this with my, I'm an attorney also, and I have been working with a CEQA specialist attorney, Emily Bro, who's reviewed this also has many years working on CEQA matters. And I just have one question for Jessica. So what is, there was a lot of response to my comments that I actually just got. What is the current use of the back gate, since it looks like the comments indicate that they are going to continue using the gate going forward?
Yeah, so is that your comment is up? No more questions because this is about it. Okay.
No,
No,
I'm
because
sorry, but I don't understand why you keep cutting me off.
no,
when
I
the
don't want to
other
cut you
person-
off. I just want to make sure because we're keeping track of maybe because on Zoom it seems a little awkward. So I apologize.
The
for
other
that.
woman spoke for 5 minutes.
So would you like
In
to?
order for me to give you the comment, I just need to know what is the ongoing use of the gate, so I
Yeah.
can give you my comment.
So you have to finish the comment in 3 minutes. So you have to bring all the questions and all your comments within 3 minutes.
Okay,
Does that
what
make
is the
sense?
current use of the gate
All right.
going to be?
We ended to public comment right there. Any public comments?
No, that is actually not legal. I can give my comment.
You can.
It's my
In the time-
understanding that the current use of the gate, according to Jessica, will be 9 p.m., that it will be locked every weekday and will be closed, I hope this is on the record, every weekend. And the lock has been changed. However, in the comments to my my comments, it said that it would be 10 p.m. So there's some confusion, and I wanted the district to clear that up. I think that does need to be cleared up. The district also stated that there has been an ongoing baseline use of the gate for many years, that it would be open until 10 p.m. And that should be corrected in the supplemental report, because since 2016, it has been closed at 6 p.m. 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022, the gate was for staff use only. And in the landscaping report, I noted that they wrote that the back gate is for staff use only. So it's in your own report that only staff can use it. Yet I see students using it every day, and your own report says it's for staff use only. So if we're going to adopt this, there needs to be some clarity on who can use the gate. Was there a traffic study done? I see that no traffic study was done to determine whether it's a safe ingress or egress. Students coming in and out of the gate where there's no line marker down the road, and there are near accidents every day, puts students' lives at significant risk every morning and every night. If none of you have gone to the back lot to see how dangerous the road is, the pictures I submitted show you that it is pitch black starting at 6. Students are at near miss accidents on a daily basis. They're turning left and right with no markers, and there have been no modifications to show how they'll make it a safe ingress or egress for the students going in and out of the gate every night. So if the board approves this, you are approving a potential fatal accident for the students of San Rafael High School, because there are there are a bunch of conflicting statements within your own report about who can use the gate, when they can use it.
Yeah.
And so you're approving what will likely be a fatal accident at any point in time.
Thank you very much for your public comments. Really appreciate it, you being here. Do we have anyone else with any public comment?
Seeing none.
Thank you. Would you like to address some of these questions or overall? I don't know if you have any updates or.
I believe all the questions that I heard were addressed in the response on the final EIR. The supplemental EIR is not an opportunity to rehash analysis in the original EIR. It's just looking at the incremental differences.
Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it. All right, at this point, I presume we will need to move to approve this item. So I will entertain a motion, moved by trustee Martin.
Yes.
Okay, moved by trustee Martin. I need a second.
Second.
Second by trustee Daniela Marsh. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? Abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passes unanimously. All right. And the last item on business, the discussion and action will be also capital facilities and the recommendation for approval of adjustments to capital facilities program budgets for measure B and C.
Hi.
Hello.
So in the last two bonds, we came to the board 14 times to make adjustments to budgets as we had emerging needs or as we had actuals, right? Because budgets are based on estimates. And then tonight, we're bringing to you our first budget adjustment. The last time we came to the board was June of last year, and I started in July. And tonight, the presentation will be made by His Eminence, Dr. Bill Savage here. And I'll be nearby, should there be any questions or any clarifications that are needed. This will not be the last time we come to you.
Yeah.
Right? I just want to be clear that even as we're speaking, things are potentially shifting. We may come back as soon as fall. So we'll go through the presentation and I'll be here for any questions.
Thanks, Tim. Good evening, board members. Bill Savage. This is the button.
Yep, with me.
Okay, oops, backwards. All right. I'm here tonight to give you an update and apparently to close out a long evening. I've only got about 200 slides. Anyway, how do we fund it? How do we get to where we need to be to get our project budgets within the approved 2022 bond measures? And the support of the voters has been wonderful. I've been working here in Santa Fe City Schools since 2016, and it's just an honor to work for this community. And happy to be here tonight to take you through Measure B and C program budget updates. And we're bringing these to you now because we're starting to bring you contracts. We brought the first one to the last board meeting. We're bringing contracts tonight. We're going to bring you contracts over and over for the next meetings before we start construction this summer. So we're going to go through the high school district projects, the elementary district projects, look at what the actual budgets are, the adjustments we're proposing tonight. So let's start with Santa Fe City Schools. So the project at Santa Fe City Schools is the aquatics gym locker project. This project has increased significantly in its scope since it was originally approved as part of the plan. Just as an example, I'm not going to read every bullet, but we are incorporating the complete reconstruction of the city of Santa Fe uphill storm drainage that comes down and now goes underneath the corner of our gym. And we're going to redo that so it gets out underneath from under the corner and connect it up so it goes to its outfall in the canal. So this was not a part of the project originally. It's a huge undertaking. We're adding a temporary campus over on the area just to the west of the science building on the grass field. We are adding the campus security fencing and gates to this project. So the scope has increased, the significance of, and the significant modernization needs of gym and lockers have also increased the scope. So that's Santa Fe. Terra Linda, similar story, a little bit different. The largest scope increase for the Terra Linda Aquatic Center is that we've added work that's really a part of another project that was in the master plan, and that's the stadium renovations, including adding a ticket booth, entry gate, concession stand, and most importantly, a restroom building in a quad area just to the east of the gym, the old gym, and between the stadium track and that whole area will be revamped as part of this. We have utility relocations and we have photovoltaic systems that are required on both of the projects at Centerville and Terra Linda because of the new green code. And we want to incorporate that we have to incorporate it and we need to fund it, and I'll show you. This is the cheat sheet before I get to the 11 by 17, but for these two projects, here's how we're proposing to increase the budgets for them. And as you can see, the project complexity of Centerville High and the older condition of the buildings and the site means we're going to be adding more money to the Centerville project from additional revenue to the program, unassigned balance, and moving money from our solar projects. And you'll see in Terra Linda, we propose to bring money over from the stadium project to help with the bulk of that budget adjustment that's needed. So you can refer to your overall program budget worksheet. So this on the left-hand number column, the first column, that shows what was approved by the board in June of 2023. The next column that's in coral shows you the proposed budget adjustments, and the next column, proposed updated funding budget, is the last number column to the right. And so you can see the items that we presented on the cheat sheet are transferred here, and we'll bring this sheet back to you. And there's a couple of columns that are behind this. There are things that we originally showed the board, the master plan, the first changes, and we'll continue to bring updated worksheets to you as we need to adjust our budgets in the future so we can be sure to be transparent with the board and the community as we go forward. This one. So at the elementary district, our primary projects as we get started are the TK facilities at 4 sites, the new TK facilities. And you can see at each of the sites, we've had expanded scope for the projects that we need to adjust the budgets to be able to cover. A good example is Sun Valley Elementary School. As we developed the project, the fire marshal basically came to us and said, gee, there's no way to get an emergency vehicle onto the site around to the back. And so as part of putting in a classroom building at the front of the school, we're now going to be upgrading with large retaining walls and new ADA compliance, the whole fire lane out to the back of the site as part of the TK. Another example, the storm drain from this main creek that runs underneath the site comes right under the proposed location of the TK building. We're going to be relocating that out into the street and back around the building, working with the city of San Rafael to do that, but it's a burden a budget burden that gets added to the project. So you can read the other sites there, very similar. Benicia Valley is probably our easiest project, simplest. We're gonna demolish an old building, put a new one right where it was. I shouldn't say this, but we've already found most of the buried bodies at that site when we built the last big new building. I mean, everything that we could find underground, we think we found, hopefully, but I shouldn't jinx myself, so I'll stop with that one right there.
Maybe.
Davidson Middle School. We've talked to the board in June of last year about the issues at Davidson, primarily the flood plain. The entire site is within the FEMA 100-year flood plain, and we have to relocate the building 5 feet above the plain, so 1 foot above the 100-year flood line. We've got extensive new site work that needs to get raised to meet that. We have utility relocations at that site. That's the largest proposed budget adjustment in the elementary district. And at San Pedro, we're bringing you an item for your consideration and approval. This is to repair the field at that site. That field is the most deteriorated field and the most heavily used field by the largest number of elementary students that we have in the district. So we're proposing to renovate the field with a new artificial turf field, shade structure, retaining walls, and seat areas. And that proposed budget you will see in your worksheet. In general, the way that we propose to balance the elementary district budgets is through internal budget modifications for each site's budget. And we'll show you that on the worksheet. The worksheet that you have for the elementary district is divided in two to get it on this screen. And is this pointer working? No, it's not. At Davidson Middle School, you can see when I say we're balancing internally, what I mean is we're proposing to move $7.5 million into the MPR project and doing that by reducing the scope for modernization of the 20 wing, 30 wing, 40 wing projects. And we feel comfortable doing that and proposing it to the board because we've already completed for those wings. New HVAC systems have just been completed, new roofing has been completed. So we've kind of taken care of some big items of modernization. And what we want to focus on at Davidson in the future is the exterior, the windows, the doors of those classroom wings are sorely in need of upgrade and modernizing the technology inside the classrooms. We believe there'll be an adequate budget left to do that. So our overall adjustments proposed at the elementary district are within each of the sites, with the exception of, as you can see, the playing field upgrade at San Pedro proposes to bring in money from $1 million in almost from the reserves, and we'll reduce two other budgets that'll be incorporated in the work of that project. So we're trying to find ways not to have to move budgets between the sites, but to balance them internally.
And if I can say that the million that we're bringing, the million that we're bringing in from reserve is 1/3, and we're spending this summer about 1/3 of the bond. So it's an appropriate use to use 1/3 of the board control contingency.
So we're proposing the first use of the program reserve. All of our budgets have a reserve from elementary and high school, and we're proposing to move $848,000 of that reserve to help fund that project.
Okay.
So I think I'm almost done. I did want to share one of the challenge, there's a lot of things that keep me up at night since I'm the budget guy, right? And along with Bob. One of them is that we have challenges with cash flow in the elementary district, not so much the high school district, but in the elementary district. And it's critical for us that our next bond measure, a bond sale of the total measure of $40 million is accomplished. The elementary district tax base couldn't handle getting to the 40 million we need in the spring. We're looking for a successful bond sale in the fall, and that's one of the key elements. And I did provide you with, let's see, there it is. There's a cash flow worksheet that's in your handout, and you can see, pardon me, I don't want to say, I'm gonna go back in it. Okay, anyway, in conclusion, thank you for listening, and I know it's been a long night. So, we can get out of here right now.
No need.
These adjustments are a part of our program, and they're set the stage for us to all be successful in our career.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation.
So there's a need for an adoption of this changes to our budgets. So it's an action item. We want you to know that CGS, which is the California Geological Survey, has a new acronym, and it's Can't Get Started. So none of our projects can start without CGS approval. So we thought we'd be bringing you contracts that we can't bring tonight, and we can't bring next time. So we may have to come at end of June to say, getting authorization to start work over the summer. We're trying to not lose the summer for construction.
June 17th?
What's that?
By June 17th?
That's my hope. And
And
if
if not, then I'm gonna just say we're gonna have to figure out a special board
special
meeting.
mayor meeting, that's all right.
Or we'll ask for a delegation of authority if we have some budgets that we can get
Can we
approved.
do that?
Bring down, can you do, well,
Yes, we'll
let's talk about that
talk about that,
legalities and
yes.
see what we can do.
Absolutely. And I so we're asking for action on this.
Yes. Thank you for this presentation, and also thank you for printing out the budget, so much easier than looking at it from the screen. This is great. I'm gonna open it up to the trustees in case they have any questions, and also have to open it to the public as well. So my colleagues, do you have any questions?
Not at this time, I don't.
All right.
I will make a comment. This take note, folks, like, this is great accessibility. I appreciate, I'm sorry, Bob, like, this is great. If anybody numbers, please put it on this size sheet. This is really understandable.
Yeah, I like the format too.
Yeah.
We were lucky enough to meet with Caroline and Mark
I
in
was
our
gonna say.
facilities task force, and we got input on how this would read to you, so they had input on this.
I'm very thankful for our fellow trustees, because it's really,
Yeah.
the approach was very accessible tonight. So thank you for that.
Don't get me out, it was,
Yeah, and the overall, I think, Trustee Martin, do you have any other comments about the committee, about some of this
no, I find
budget adjustments?
this team is so thorough, worked so hard, thank
Yeah.
you so much. And this is so important to make our schools look great for learning and for our families and our communities, so
Absolutely, yeah.
appreciative.
I know it's late, so the one thing comment I have is that I know that this is an adjustment, and I am a little bit worried about inflation and cost. So I guess my overall comment is, do you predict, you said you will come back to us probably with other adjustments,
Many
right?
times.
Many times, because in part because of our things that can happen at the site, things that can happen in our, around cost.
When you have a budget, here's what we think it's gonna cost, so you
Yes.
go out to bid, you have an actual.
Exactly.
And more than likely, actuals aren't gonna be less.
Yeah.
We have been known to get less, but they tend to be slightly more, yeah.
Exactly. So just for the community to also be prepared about these changes, right? So this is a great presentation. I love the budget and how detailed it is. And the transparency around this, right?
Right.
Understanding what kind of infrastructures we're gonna have, things that are even using our fencing around our schools, that have thought about it so many times, and all those things that we're gonna do in partnership with the city of San Rafael too.
Yes.
So I think that's very important that we highlight that partnership, because it's very important for the safety of our students and also for the conditions of overall. So thank you for working with the city, and thank you for our trustees, and of course, my appreciation to all the team that worked on all of this. And Bob, yeah, and I have to open it to public comment. Do we have any public comments?
Seen none.
Now I can entertain a motion, but you should know that after this, we need to vote on additional items. I'll let you know. I need a motion to approve this, please.
I move that we approve this.
Okay, trustee, moved by trustee Palma and second by trustee Daniela Marsh. All those in favor to approve the adjustment to capital facilities?
Aye.
Say aye. Aye. Anyone against? Abstention, seeing none, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you, team.
All right, before I let you all go, the board, and thankfully we have Tim and Jessica, our attorney here. We need to vote on item 13.1, which ended up being 10.1 and 10.2 from our agenda. So I need someone to move on capital facilities program, approval of amendments to leaseback agreement. Is this the right one, Tim? For San Rafael High School Aquatic Center project.
Carolyn and Centerville, yeah.
Yes, so we'll have to approve the first one for San Rafael High School Aquatic Center.
I move that we approve the aquatic center for Sarah Felt and Carolyn Duff.
Thank you. I have to move by trustee Martin. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Palma. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? Abstention, see none, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Now I will need a motion to approve amendment number 1 to leaseback agreement for the Terlinda High School Aquatic Center project with Right Contracting.
Motion to approve.
So moved, okay, trustee, thank you, moved by trustee Neva Marsh. Do I have a second?
Second.
To move a second by trustee Palma. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions or no votes? Seeing none, the motion passes unanimously. All right, thanks for your patience.
Thank you.
And this meeting